Good morning, traders. Are you guys ready to get back into the trading action? I'm excited, of course, to get back into the show. Of course, today, market's making moves. We got some earning stocks. We're moving higher. We're almost out of the range where we're looking for the breakout to the new bull market. You guys out there, let me know. Do you guys think that we're going to get to 420, potentially even this week? Smash the like. Let me know what stock you guys are watching in the chat. And let's get it started right here on Live Trading with Benzinga.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Those words have been dancing around my head all night. Oh, it's Vegas lore, that phrase.
All right, traders, I'm getting started here. I'll be joined in just shortly by Ryan Faluna. I will let you guys know Zunaid is going to be out today. He's dealing with something with his father. You guys know he's been kind of dealing with surgery, so he wants to be there. Can't blame him. Wish Zunaid's father the best and quick recovery. Of course, we're going to get into this market, taking a look at the SPY right now as we're going a little bit higher here in the pre-market and continuing to climb. One thing that I would put on at least as like kind of a concern is that every time that we've gotten these last little rides here in the pre-market, a lot of times we get a little bit of a sell-off to prior ranges. So we could see a sell-off right back into some prior ranges, like kind of like the 414 area, 415 area. But we're definitely strong here this morning. How we doing, my friend Ryan?
We're doing good. How about you, Mitch?
It's good. Another day in the hot chair, ready to get after it, man. I'm just looking at this market and I'm just realizing more and more how I should have been leaning on the bull side for all that bank crisis, right? I mean, I feel like, yes, I know that there was a lot of concern out there, but I really feel like this was my kind of more of confirmation bias by traders that traded the financial crisis. And I understand why they could be more scared than other traders. In my eyes, I am getting out of the camp where when panic comes, if the Fed says that they're going to step in at all cost, no matter what, I must be bullish. That's my rule now moving forward, just because I've seen it happen twice where I've missed out big moves in the market. Why? Because everybody else is in panic mode while everybody is also getting what? Certainty from the government. I know how Ryan feels about the government. We ain't going to get into all that action. But the truth is at the end of the day, we've gone up since the crisis that happened, right? You saw all the media talking about all the scares that, you know, maybe all the money was going to go to Bitcoin. I didn't think that was going to happen either. But in this case, it just shows me more and more. We're right back up there. And this market seems to me like it just doesn't want to turn around. It wants to climb higher. It wants to keep climbing. And unless we get a negative catalyst, I don't see this trend changing. Could we get pullbacks? Yes. But I think those pullbacks are actually going to be probably dip opportunities. That's the way I see the market. Like always, you guys choose your own levels on the market. Of course, this is all for informational purposes, not for investment advice, and opinions don't represent those of Benzinga. Let's get to the action. Let's take a look at some of the other trades that are out there right now. I do have some swing trades on, so let's talk a little bit about these really quickly. Danaher, you guys know I've been talking about this, looking for diagnostics and research to continue higher. This already starting to make a move here. I'm up almost 2.5% on this name. Going to look to see if this can continue to run to 270s and even higher. We could get to the 200-day moving average today, 264. I'm looking for a bigger move on this one. I have a smaller position so I can give it the room to actually run on the reward side and give myself room on the risk side. We'll see what happens here in Danaher. I also have another one that's in this space, DXCM. I took this one yesterday as it kept holding here. Going to look for it to rip up above 123s. If it can get above 123s, going to feel real confidence about this Dexcom. And just to kind of mention my last one in healthcare, it's Gilead Science as we're kind of leaning up here. Going to look to see if we can get to the 85 spot and push higher here on Gilead Sciences. We'll see what happens to these swing trades. Now I'm going to kick it to my man Ryan to take a look at the trades that he's looking at. And of course, we can take a look at some of the stocks that you guys are watching in the chat. Throw some up. If you got anything on your watch list, we definitely want to take a look at it. Let's kick it to Ryan. What do you see, my friend?
All right. Well, first of all, you can see that where we are with the SPY, we're still riding up this trend line, right? So like you were saying in your intro, Mitch, I've definitely been in the bearish camp, and I still am. I'm still in that bearish camp.
What will change you?
What? I was just gonna say. Here's what would change my mind. Looking at the technicals here, I definitely want to see a breakout of this top that was put in on February 2nd. This should also line up with the 500-day moving average, which is what this curved purple line is. Okay. If we zoom out and take a look at that, we would now have another higher high, right? So we had a high here. We're in this downtrend from the beginning of 2022. All right. We set a high here at the top of the trend line. We came back in. We didn't test the bottom of the trend. Then we traded out of the trend, set a new high, came back in to back test one of the support levels, did not set a lower low. And now we're trading back up to the end of this range. So if we break this range here, and I'm going to need at least one close above both of these, then I would say that we've invalidated this downtrend, and perhaps this marks the beginning of a new trend. Now, it's going to be very, very difficult to predict macro events. Sometimes it's impossible. Some you can't even predict. But I still suspect that the consumer will be weaker as rates are held higher for longer. I also don't think that the Fed is going to be able to quickly move us back to 2% inflation. So I think all of those things are going to come home to roost over the latter course of the year. Now, what does that mean for the market? Well, I tend to think that it would mean that we go lower and we test some of these lows, but that really hasn't been the case yet. So again, if we break out of this area right up here, and this is gonna, I mean, how funny is this that this is really going to come down to
baby?
420?
Are we going to have Ryan? The fun part is, are we going to get 420 break on 420?
Well, that Mitch, it's like you're literally trying to read my mind and front run what I'm trying to say here. How funny would it be if we had this 420 test on 420? Now, in addition to the actual numbers, it's also going to line up with this trend line. So again, a lot of the technicals I want to see here, I want to see another higher high set. And then frankly, I'd like to see a back test of this. How many times have we seen a stock push up, look like it's going to show strength, and then reverse and then bleed back down? Now, individual stocks, obviously not the same as the S&P index here, but this is what I'm looking at. This is basically setting the stage for me kind of changing my tune. The other thing that I've seen in my short career is that the market can be really irrational. Everyone can think that it's going to go down, and guess what it's going to do? It's going to keep going up. It's going to inflict as much pain as possible. And I think that there are a lot of people sitting on the sideline waiting for a capitulation, which we never really got, waiting for a retest of some of these lows to make the trend reversal seem clean, which we really haven't got yet. So a lot can happen. I'm going to stay in the bearish camp until that is completely invalidated. I'd be looking for a breakout above 420 here.
Yeah, it's interesting. Definitely the kind of just talking about that outlook is that I hear you completely on kind of your concerns out there in the market. I just feel like, this market, every time that we wanted to go higher, it seems like the market goes really fast to the upside. And if anything, has really slowed down on any downside action. So that's one thing that I also notice is that I talk about it, right? Are we having stair step moves up or down? And where's the elevator move? Is the elevator move to the upside or to the downside? It seems like as of late, the elevator moves are actually to the upside. That shows me more strength, right? That shows me that whenever we get any positive catalyst, we react really bullish versus how, and a lot of times in a bear market, when you get positive catalysts, it's usually just a little bit of a pop and then a drop afterwards. It seems like lately we just want to climb the wall of worry. And if we can continue doing that, the only thing that can really shake us to the downside is negative news, I feel like. And if there's no negative, the market could just continue to climb. And I remember going out of the pandemic, this was very similar mentality. Are we going to get another negative news of COVID? People were watching the COVID numbers like if they were going to turn the market around and take us right back to the lows. It never happened. Even when we got negative, like bad COVID numbers, we would take a little bit of a dip and we'd climb that wall of worry right back up. So in my eyes, it has to be something truly negative, like a big bank disappearing or China invading Taiwan. If those two situations don't happen, I think we're going to be pushing way higher than most people would have thought this year. And I just don't want to miss out on the move. So I'm actually leaning more to the bullish side, even earlier than my 420 signal on the market.
And real quick, let me, we're almost at the open here. So let me run through some stocks. The other thing to remember is what if we break through this and immediately are rejected and pulled back? There's a lot of things that can happen. So it's best that we prepare for both outcomes. Now, really quickly, I just want to run through a couple of these really fast here. First one here is going to be GSMG. This is Glory Star. We traded up towards 128, came back in and held one. The company announced the signing of an $80 million strategic investment. So we'll see if this gets gearing here. Drama. This is probably the biggest watch of the day. We've actually traded we had some drama with drama not long ago, and it looks like we're actually setting some new levels here. In fact, it actually set a new high here. So we're going to watch this. Careful with this one around the open. We are extended away from the VWAP. Blue here, Bellis Health, ticker BLU. This is getting acquired. Nothing really there for trading purposes. GMDA. This is Gamida Cell. This was as high as 203 here. The trading higher if the company received FDA approval for one of their cell therapies. So we'll see if this can hold 150. This is right by the VWAP here. So let's see how this reacts out of the gate. PTPI is back after yesterday. We stopped at 577, which is where we stopped intraday yesterday. Let's see if we take that out. I also think that you might get a back test here of about the 5 level. So we'll see on that. ALLR, kind of similar. YS and VS also gapping up today. CYTO, which we traded not long ago, this getting a little bit of a morning pop here, and TCB popped all the way up to 359 and has bled back most of its gains. This potential bounce play here as we can close back towards the VWAP. We're opening. Good luck. Hopefully Mitch is back soon. Let's flip over to the main dashboard here, and let's see what's going on. I noticed that SLGG was up here today. PTPI, first move here is higher. All right, so we did pop through that pre-market high briefly. Let's see if we can get some strength and go through it again. 587 is what I have as the high. This is looking pretty good here. Really can't get above it yet. Let's see if we go above 5. There we go. Popping new highs here on PTPI. All right, so this one happened a little quickly. Let's see if we go through 6 and where we can end up going. Let me take a look at the 15-minute here on PTPI. So here are going to be some of the next levels to watch out for. 785, and then I have an absolute high print of 853. So we'll see if we can get up there. You can see that there is some consolidation range from the 14th here that we're going to have to work our way through. PTPI here strong out of the gate. Let's see if we can retake 6. There it is, and moving a little bit higher here on PTPI. VS moving up towards that 109 level as well. In fact, crossing it briefly here. Let's see if we can test 121. Also going to add another line here at 128. So we'll see if we can pop up there as well. Let's see what TCB is doing right out of the gate here. Kind of holding. So the first move that I'd like to see here is a move through 2. In fact, I'm going to mark that line off. Move through 2 here. Maybe we can close to the VWAP here at 254. That would be a nice little trade as well. Get my other screen up here. All right, and maybe I missed it if Mitch talked about some of these banks that we're reporting here. Bank of America up in the pre-market here. First move is down. Still up about a quarter on the day here on Bank of America. Let's actually check some of those out. What are you folks? Joe, you're long Uber. YM, big leg down. Okay, let's check both of those here real quick. See what you folks are looking at out there. All right. Uber, nice multi-day move here on Uber. I think 33 is probably going to be your next spot on Uber. Are you swinging that, Joe? What's your target there on Uber? And then YM was another one you folks want to take a look at. Let's take a look at YM as well. I don't see. Check that ticker. Was it YMM? Is this the one? I think you're talking about YMM, maybe. Not sure. Check on drama. That was one of our big. Okay, so this is one of the things we were talking about right at the start. First move here back to the VWAP. Potential VWAP bounce here at 3 or even 296. Looks like on this pull we got as low as 305 and we started bouncing. Let's see if we can close that gap a little bit more here on drama. I want to go mark the top of this off on this chart as well. Oh, why? Sorry, Walters. You're talking about the futures, the Dow futures. Gotcha. All right, so drama didn't quite get to that VWAP, but bouncing here. PTPI hanging around that 590, just under 6 here. We'll see if that can develop some more strength as well. What's up, Hawaii Rye? Hopefully you're having a good day here this morning. Let's go ahead and get it done. Actually, laser curling off the VWAP here too. This is a bit interesting as well. ALLR, this was from our list here. That broke right through the VWAP. Let's see where this bottoms. Looks like it's bottoming at one of the pre-market levels that we stopped at earlier. PTPI still struggling with that 587 level. Drama continuing its bounce here from that VWAP pull. Checking on Goldman Sachs, that was another one that reported. This was actually higher in the pre-market and has really kind of come back in now. Let's see where Goldman Sachs bottoms. Looks like it tested that pre-market low and it's trying to bounce off of it and make a move back towards VWAP here on Goldman Sachs.
Big push there in DHR to start it off. Of course, you guys know that's my swing trade on the day. And that's pushing higher. That's looking good here. DXCM is one that I have. I'm willing to add if this can go into the red today, just because it's in the same space. I'm looking at that space to get hot. TMO is another one that I'm keeping an eye on. Thermo Fisher, we'll see if that goes higher. Let's go to the SPY overall. We are getting that little pullback. I thought we'd get a little bit of a pullback to that's like 415 area. We're getting that bounce right now. So let's see if we just bounce right back to the upside. SOXL's in play, of course. Tech stocks going higher. I think we could continue to push higher today. Take a look at Netflix today to see if maybe that wants to take a push before the earnings. It's pulling back right now, but I kind of like this pullback, an opportunity here for Netflix. We'll see what happens here. It is pulling back here to test support. It's kind of like a little gap fill. We'll see if it pushes back off this 332 spot. So you can see how it just pushed off of that level on the pullback. So yeah, it's right on that level right now.
Bitcoin all right. Names moving higher with the trade up in Bitcoin. Riot at highs here, 1385. Trying to go for that 14 level here on Riot. Haven't seen Mara pop up on the relative volume scanner, but it's worth checking anyway.
Run pulling back a little bit. Solar names pulling back a little bit. For Solar, still hanging in there. MPH now getting a little bit of a spike. Run got a little bit of an upgrade, so I was going to keep an eye on that one. Array also one that I'm keeping a close eye. I like the daily chart, so I've even set alerts above this 22 to keep an eye out on this Array Technologies. I really like this chart as it's building and building and building. Could take off to the next level. Like always, you guys choose your own investment advice. We'll see what happens if I'm able to nail some of these swings today and take some swing trades and even day trades here. Let's see what happens on SOXL. We're up there to 1620s now, really starting to push higher here. You can see the Qs kind of pushing and pulling back, now coming right back up. SPY went back towards that 415. Let's see if we cut through 415 again. We went to 415.03s, starting to bounce a little bit in the SPY.
Drama break above 362 here, has a high print of 390, so a nice little scalp there if you took it. Drama, good volume here, building above this level. I think we probably challenge 4 here.
Industrials up today. Honeywell is one that I wanted yesterday. He's already kind of pushed a little bit up, so I'm looking for pullbacks on Honeywell to get in. But GE also strong one mentioned by Christian Fromhertz yesterday. I mentioned it also, was looking at maybe to see if General Electric could make 100 a run. It just pushed from 97 to 97.50s. I'll look for pullbacks towards 97.18s for an entry in General Electric. Oracle calls, Oracle pushing higher. That's a strong one. Looks like it wants to continue going through this 95. Doesn't look bad at all. With Oracle pushing higher, I'd also take a look at CRM to push higher. They are both looking good here on the nice little pop here out the gates.
PTPI halted down. Good call there by the group.
Shop was a nice one yesterday. Sold it a little earlier, but man, it was a big move on the day there. Shop sold the whole swing trade yesterday. That was a really nice win. Over 4% winner there on Shopify. Snow moving higher. ARKK names, I'm going to look to see if they go red to green here. They are going red right now, but we'll look to see if they can go green. Tesla was one that I wanted yesterday at like kind of 185. So let's see if I can get back to that level and then bounce off of that. It is red on the day to start here. SPY overall right around that 415. Let's see if we finally start finding some bottom around the 945 time.
Toro, ticker TORO, had a nice little push right out of the gate and a pull back towards VWAP. Didn't quite get there. Looks like we're going to challenge 4 here. This definitely seems to have a 4 magnet in it. Let's see if we pop above 4 and move here on Toro. Let me see if I can get the next spot after this 4. 4 goes. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good.
I was going to say this 4 goes back to the last time after this huge drop. We actually tried to trade back up and fill that gap. Looks like we were not successful in doing that. Let's see if we can get some of these levels in here. I got 632 and 840 if we're able to keep moving higher here on Toro. That 4 break should be big on Toro. Let's see what the volume tells us when we get there.
All right, healthcare definitely taking a pullback today, so be careful out there, right? Healthcare is pulling back here. That's like my Gilead. That is a little bit in the red. We'll see what happens there. Energy pulling back. We'll see if that comes back. Financial services pulling back a little bit. Of course, Goldman Sachs was your weak one, right? Look to see if that climbs back. That is climbing right now, back to the upside. So I'm just keeping an eye on that outlook as Goldman Sachs starts making its way back here.
I'm watching Toro and Drama right now for breaks higher. Remember, some of the stocks that we've seen actually breaking the upside of the range in this recent bull run, that's actually worked out for us. So like we were talking about earlier in terms of what the market direction is, if the bulls hold control today, maybe we do get some more oomph on some of those upside breaks for some of these scalps.
All right, looking right now at an Airbnb pullback opportunity here. I want to swing trade Airbnb, but I need a little bit of a pullback towards the 120s here. We just shot off from that level. So if I can get a little pullback underneath VWAP here, I'm going to start getting in here on some Airbnb. But this is kind of more swing trade style. Like always, you guys determine your own trades. We'll see what happens.
Bank of America still bouncing off that 30 handle. SOXL at the highs.
All right, just took a little bit there of Airbnb as a starter here, and I'm also getting a CSIQ alert. That's a solar stock crossing up through 4110. So that could be a level to kind of look at as we start going through the 41. So I just got that starter there on Airbnb at 120.51s. We'll get an add here towards 120 if we go down to that level, but I'm willing to take a shot already and get a starter on there. We'll see if we get the add fill on pullbacks. Looking at CSIQ now, let's start taking a look at some of these solar stocks. This one, nice little recovery move there. I like the daily chart, how we want to push higher here. So it doesn't look too bad here for this one to continue through 41 now that it just recovered off that 40.50 spot. Would like to see a little pullback to 40.60 here so I could risk off that 40.40 and take a shot here with Canadian Solar. Run, is that coming back? Yeah, it's trying to bounce a little bit. Array is another one to watch for the 22 move, right? This is one that I like here today also in solar. You can see here how it's been holding kind of these pullbacks. Just did another little pullback. Could get through the 22s up towards 22.50s today. At least that's what I see on the charts here.
Real quick,
this one.
Crow in SLGG. SLGG is going to have a special place in my heart. This was one of my bigger trades from 2021 as I rode this from $1 up to $11. We're currently here at 60 cents. Crow, I'm guessing your trade plan here is a bounce back towards the VWAP. Just looking at the chart here, it looks like we're trying to bottom out at this 57 cents. I'm thinking your entry is around 60 cents here, looking for a move back towards the VWAP here in SLGG. Partnership to provide brands with actionable solutions to bridge the gap between Web 2 and Web 3. Okay.
All right, there's array above 22s, so I'm looking for a pullback below 22s to get in here on array. This would be a solar name here. We'll see if I can get a little bit of a pullback action.
Don't see anything particularly unusual from the option scanner here. I mean, maybe laser. 7,527 contracts, the 6.5 put that expires April 28th. That's 10 days from now. No position on laser. That's about the only notable one that I've seen here. Macy's calls, although those are kind of cheapies.
CSIQ already bouncing off of UAP. Solar stocks look interesting here for me. For solar going higher, that gives me a little bit more confidence in this move. ENPH is around VWAP. I am trying to get an entry here on array for the pullback, but if it doesn't pull back, fill me, hey, so be it. I'm not going to jump towards the 2210s. Could have jumped at the 22s, but I have an order down in the 90s here. We'll see what happens if I do get a fill. Just going to keep pushing here. Industrials also pushing higher. So I like Honeywell on pullbacks. We'll see what happens there. GE hasn't pulled back at all here. SPY overall now coming back here from the bottoming action around, I would say the 940 area was kind of the bottom there. Now we'll look to see if we come back there. 415 is this downside for SPY, but let's see if it gets back here towards kind of pre-market highs. That's at 416. So we'd have to make a big move here from the 415 to 50s back up towards 416. We'll see if it's able to recover 415.50.
And I am seeing an interesting options trade now. Ticker TTE, Total Energies. I've never traded this here. We had 10,000 contracts in the 67.5 call that expires May 19th purchase. It's about $800,000 in this one trade. Looking at the daily chart here, clearly what this trader is looking for is a break above 65 here. So this would be an all-time high break and a move towards new highs. It would be a blue sky breakout if we're able to get that. Looks like that trader's trying to capture that movement there. 10,000 contracts in the May contract. May 19th expiry. I have no position in this one. I'm not going to follow this one in, but that is notable.
All right, looking for a little pullback here to get in Netflix for a day trade. This is a little bit bigger size here for me, a more expensive stock. Like always, traders, we want to be careful when we're getting a little bit out of our sizing, out of our normal kind of buy, kind of purchase here, right? So I take a starter right here at 334, but I need to be able to risk down here towards this low here, 332.69, right? So I'm risking more than a point on this trade. Got to be careful with the trade like this. But the reason why I'm going after Netflix, of course, earnings after the bell today. I'm not going to hold this through earnings, but I think we could get a run today into that earnings report. Then we'll see what happens there. Nice little push already towards 334.80s there. Got in there at the 334 spot. Let's see if we take 336 and go a little bit higher here on Netflix. Money Mitch, what do you think about Oxy with low gas? Oh my God, Tesla moving higher. I mean, energy trade right now is slowly coming back here on the day. I don't know specifically. I can't give you a recommendation on Oxy, but it is starting to try to recover 63 on the daily. I think you really need to kind of come back through the 200-day to have this chart feel bullish, but really it's going to be more about oil overall. We're going to make a move back into the 85s, 90s. That's what I'm looking at. And I look at that by looking at the front month of crude, or you can look at WTI for how oil's performing on the day. But Oxy is trying to kind of catch this kind of gap fill pullback. So you can see how you fill the gap here. And now you're trying to hold that. That is support underneath it. That's the only thing that I could tell on the chart here for Oxy. Is it going to go higher? I can't say that much, but we'll see what happens here. It is pushing through the 63. Netflix, big push, man. Big push. Hendricks, come on, man.
Hendricks trying to trade cats with jobs.
You know it, man. He's trying to keep me out of Netflix. He said, no, I hate when you watch Netflix. All right, but there's a nice little push, 35.80s. Once we get through the high of the day, I could even take some profit if I wanted to. It's already kind of getting a nice little lift here. So I'm going to actually look for a little bit more than that 336 because it's pushing fast here. So let's see if we can get it back here. Next resistance is going to be a prior support, 337.50s. So we're ways away from there. If we can get through this resistance right above here on the intraday high, 336.25s, I'm going to look for that nice little move here coming into the 337. I'll sell some profit.
Drama, it was drifting back towards its VWAP, didn't quite get there. Back to this 362 level, a little bit higher now. Drama looking like it's going to try to take out that 393. We'd like to see some increased volume here. We just saw it in the last 1 minute stick, but want to see that hold up here.
All right, that's looking good there. DHR moving higher. Gilead's the only one in the red today. You got to keep an eye out on that because it is pulling back pretty fast here for the swing trade, right? So always risk preservation first, team. That's what comes first for me. Like always, you guys choose your investments, but we want to see what happens here on this pullback because I already have the line drawn, right? I'm okay with it coming to 83, not okay with it coming to 82. So we'll see what happens here on this pullback. Could add, but on a day like this where I'm seeing healthcare at the bottom, what do I want to do? I just want to be careful. So I don't want to be adding on a day where the sector is the weakest of the market, right? It is the weakest on the market today. And there's not many in the red. So you just got to keep an eye out on that. Not going to be battling in healthcare today.
SPY and the Qs pushing towards highs here. And one more
almost
thing.
416. What do you
Jay,
got?
you were talking about ALLR. This one's pretty interesting here. If we can take out this 162, we tried it one time, and as soon as we broke through it, we were knifed back through towards the VWAP here. But if we can take out 162, I think 190 is probably in play. Volume looks pretty good here. Need that to keep up. Good spot here, Jay. Let us know if you take that.
All right, team. And what can I say, guys? We can't be mad at that move at all. I'll go ahead and I'll bring up my charts here, but that's definitely going to be a little bit of some nice money. Let's go, team. Not starting it off bad here in Netflix. Just taking half off there through the 337 from 334 here in Netflix. Not too bad. 3 points on that first give here. Now we'll look to see if this can keep running. Of course, this is off the VWAP, kind of VWAP kind of push, right? Red to green move, recovery of VWAP, pullbacks below, then look for it to recover. And from that point on, I actually like for it to not come below the VWAP. VWAP's actually above my entry now. I'll be, no matter what, I won't lose on this position moving forward. And I can keep trying to ride the momentum. We'll see what happens. You guys out there, like always, choose your own investments, your own levels, but not a bad start here on Netflix. Let's go.
Drama moving back towards the highs here. One more thing to keep in mind, CFRX, we talked about this yesterday, talked about watching this for a late day move yesterday. Well, guess what? We ended up getting that late day move. Nice move here through VWAP on the expanding volume. That actually provided a pretty good trade. Nothing going on today. Really just kind of dying out here today, down almost 22%. Keep it on the back burner in case it bounces late day like it did yesterday. But so far, CFRX, no follow through here today. None. Here's ALLR. Looks like we did take out that 162. Jay, let's go.
Nice.
190 I like your sell point here on ALLR.
Love to see it out there, team. Love to always see that you guys are calling out plays. And like always, let us know what you're seeing out there. Not just the name, right? What do you see, right? What are you looking for, right? So that others can, at least see the flag, maybe make their own investment decision on it. But like always, help each other out. That's what I always love to see in the chat.
SOXL bouncing off of the VWAP here.
Just to let you guys know, I did get that array pullback fill right now at the VWAP at 2193. So we'll see what happens on this one. Array Technologies. Let's go to the 5 minute here. You can see how the 5-minute VWAP is kind of a little bit lower than that 93. So I'm staying on that 5-minute outlook. Could add at 2186. Want to hold off the 2175s. Looking for a 22 recovery back up through that, and then a move towards 2250s for Array Technologies.
Apple, another pop here to highs. Bitcoin looking like it wants to take highs.
Oh, I want more Airbnb, man. I'm also looking at American Airlines for a nice little pullback entry here. I wouldn't mind starting to get a position in American Airlines. So let's see if I can get a pullback today into the 1305, 13 range there. I will definitely set an alert there to let me know when the stock gets down there. One of the features that you always want to be using, especially if you want to keep up with stocks, are alerts. I don't know if you use them, Ryan, to let you know when stocks are moving, but I definitely like to use them.
Yeah, I do sometimes. If there's a stock that I'm stalking, I'll set an alert for it, like a price level alert.
Stalking those stocks, bro.
But otherwise, I use some of my other indicators to alert me to what's going on here. Ryan, good to see you again this morning, my man. Boeing, I actually think that if we can continue to have some strength here, Boeing probably closes this gap here to the upside. Oh, let me throw my charts up. Sorry about that. I think Boeing probably closes this gap to the upside here. Just keep in mind, we've got earnings in just over a week here. So 220 seems to be that upside level that we really just can't seem to break. We're really kind of trading around in this range. To me, unless you're going to take a trade at the bottom of this range, which we almost got the other day, I'd actually wait for this to break out. Let's see how the earnings come in here on Boeing.
All right. One thing I can see also is a lot of bottoming action on UAL. And so I'm kind of watching to see what happens there, but definitely a lot of bottoming action there. And of course, they report also after the bell today. So that could be another play that I'm playing today, right? Just day trade on UAL back higher here. Went to 42.85, doing a little bit of a VWAP pullback here for me. So I kind of like the outlook here. Let's see if I can get it a little lower, but going to keep an eye on it.
PLTR, good call here, Becca, hitting 9. The thing about PLTR is that we actually, oops, let me go back to switch my stock on me. PLTR here, the intraday high yesterday of 904. Let's see if we actually challenge that here today. This would be a nice breakout here. Next level I have is 916, then 937 on Palantir.
Starter on the long on UAL. Going to look for a little bit of a pullback to add here towards the 4260 area, then hold off 4255. Let's see if we get this all ready to run through 4285, up through the 43s. Another playing it into the earnings play here, so you guys understand the strategy that I'm using and how I'm attacking these stocks.
Snap calls going off. They're small, though. They're cheapies. 5,000 of them, but they're only 17 cents. HTGM busted out of its halt, went higher and rehalted here at 473. Looks like Mods is in it. Nice job, Mods. Nice job. DRMA knife. You're right, Crow. That went right to the VWAP, actually breaking beneath the VWAP here on drama. So creating some more drama for us here. Let's see if we end up bouncing from this VWAP.
All right, getting hard action here on UAL to the downside, so got to be protective here on this. Not going to add, of course, so going to just watch to see if we can make a quick recovery back to 58. Any move here down below the last candle, I'm going to just get out immediately. It did just do a hard move down, but a lot of volume came in on that, so I'm looking to see if it recovers here. If not, I'll just get out. Didn't add to the position, though, and that's why I don't like to have those orders just sitting there. I'm kind of going to discretionary add once the stock starts coming back, right? Now I look to see if it can recover this 58 immediately. If it can, then I can add to it. It could have been buying volume just sitting there on the bid, right? We'll see what happens here if we can get it back through 42.65.
And Jay Rice, nice call here. JWN Ryan Cohen chatter. So according to Benzinga Pro here, we do have a rumor here. Watching Nordstrom, hearing traders are circulating a deal reporter rumor of activist investor Ryan Cohen showing interest. So keep in mind that is a deal reporter rumor. Some of those don't work out, but good shout here. Buy the rumor, sell the news.
All right, Netflix is pulling back below 334s. I'll get out, but I'm holding through the VWAP bounce type of play here. So I'll show you guys that right now.
That pop from that Ryan Cohen rumor on JWM immediately sold into.
Yeah, I mean, he did it last time, right? Remember what the stock did last time he mentioned? He did this to it.
Visual representation there, Mitch.
Yeah, I have it blocked out, so I always remember that Ryan guy. What's up with that Ryan guy, right?
Hey, man, it's a good name, but I can't defend him. Jay Wild, excellent job here on this. Jay Wild, you called this on the entry, called this on the curl, and now the close here on a pop through that 190. This is exactly the type of trades that my scanner here is set up to find. Jay, you did it exactly right. Watch the key levels, watch the volume, pop through one of the resistance levels, take the gains, wait for this thing to set up. Maybe we come back into VWAP here around 70 and get another trade here. ALLR, excellent job, Jay. Excellent job here this morning. Our community is out crushing it.
Winning. All right, out Netflix on that pullback, not looking good as it pulled back below that 334, but it could recover that 334. I just didn't want it to get into the red and then it start all of a sudden go to 332. So keeping an eye on UAL, but Netflix out of the trade there, took first profits and break even on the rest. We'll look to see if it recovers back through 335 and wants to move higher. UAL, I'm just keeping a watch on it. It looks like it's trying to recover the 58. I'm still in with my original sizing and going to stay in with it because I have an expanded range now. Just got to look to see if we can recover VWAP. And look, you see how it expands there and it kind of wipes out. There's some bigger trader here on this UAL that's definitely making this kind of move. You saw no volume filling. All of a sudden 60,000 shares filled there through the kind of 42.58 spot. So really keeping a close eye on it right now to see if we can get back to that spot and recover. But if we cut through this 42, like 45, just get out on the first order there. And that's why I like to size into my positions, team. It helps me at least that, because if it would have been a full size position here, I would have had to get out on this first hit. And that's what's important to me, at least just always keeping the risk and reward in mind here. We'll see what happens if we cut through the 45. Definitely just going to cut it out.
ALLR, big move here. Nice stuff from the group here. Toro looking like this might re-challenge 4 here on a curl. Toro right at VWAP.
Hands literally on the trigger. Just tried to recover there. It went to 44 there. So definitely just going to go ahead and kind of just set a stop right there. So through that low, I'm out no matter what. Now I can set the stop and actually even move on. Like I can look away from it for a second to try to take away some of the pressure, right? So we'll see what happens. That UAL gets me out on this little downturn, but if it can recover, I'll give it the shot here. We'll see. Some people add at this spot. I don't like to add at this spot because I feel like I'm just trying to increase risk and then be very far away from my average. That's not smart for me. That to me is like trying to catch a falling knife. I'll just stick to what I have, understand what the risk is going to be no matter what, and then I can just move forward. Let's keep taking a look at some other trades. Array slightly into the green now. Got to keep a watch on this. Look at my internet slowing up a little bit there. You guys saw it. My charts usually change pretty fast, but we're recovering 22 here. I like that outlook. So anything below 22s or at 22s, I can actually add here. I got in here at the VWAP, 2193s. So I'm looking for like a little pullback towards 2199s, 2198 to add here. I'll put it at 2197. We'll see if I'm able to get an entry and continue pushing on some solar stocks. How's the market overall? Look at the SPY coming down fast. So we got to be careful there. Overall market coming down. Let's take a look at the Qs though. The Qs is something that I definitely want to watch. You can see how we're coming down fast here also. So will we continue to crack here? Something to keep a close eye on. One thing that I'd watch is like the bigger boys. Microsoft turning red, even though mentioning an AI chip. That's a little tough to see. Apple's in the green here. Amazon's in the red. NVIDIA pulling back after having a kind of red-ish pre-market, but it recovered that move fast, man. NVIDIA always has a tendency of recovering fast here. So we'll see what happens on the market. Can we find a bounce? It looks like we're getting a little bit of some shakedown right now.
Drama taking the next leg lower here, tried to flirt with its VWAP, couldn't really clear the VWAP out, and now rejected at the VWAP. So we really need Drama to set up again before this is going to be a potential swing here, or a potential long day trade here, excuse me. HTGM open, looking for new highs here. This one's a little too volatile for me, but HTGM moving around here. SLGG still holding at that 60-cent level. We'll see if that actually pops and moves back towards the VWAP here. PTPI still has not reclaimed its VWAP. A lot of weakness in some of these names here after that initial one. ALR, best trade of the day here.
All right,
Market's still pushing lows.
Yeah, still seeing the pullback action out there right now. SPY going down now to 414.36. Of course, we ran all pre-market, so it looks like we're getting a little bit further of a pullback now. And this is what I've been seeing, at least of a trend as of late. I thought we maybe could push to 416. We didn't even get back to 416. We went to 415.75 area and rejected. So no ad there. Canceled the order for Array, especially with the market coming down the way it is and the Qs coming down the way they are. Need to see some bounce back there. If not, we'll get out of Array at like 21.90s for a really tiny loss there. Of course, I got in at 21.93, so it's almost like a break-even trade for me right now if I get out at that 21.90s. Big thing is indexes coming lower and lower. I don't want to be jumping in a name in the green if everything's going lower.
Shout out to our news desk team here real quick. We had an exclusive here on SABS. We've actually talked about this a couple of days ago. They told Benzinga that the FDA has granted the breakthrough therapy designation. We got that actually before the press release, half an hour before the press release. If we take a look at the pre-market chart here, you can see as our clients reacted to it right away. We came back in and held this 85. We actually now pushed through that pre-market high and going higher here on SABS. So congrats to all those. I didn't trade this in the pre-market. I don't buy stuff in the pre-market, but shout out to our news desk here getting that exclusive story prior to the press release. SABS moving higher now. Big gain up 70% on the day.
All right, Array, Airbnb pulling back now, back towards 119.50s. This is going to be more about if the market's going to keep leaking. That's where we got to be a little bit careful with some swing trade action as Airbnb goes into the red for me when it was in the green. So got to keep watch on that. I did get that alert for American Airlines for kind of like that 13 buy here. But with the market the way it is, I'm waiting here instead of buying more stocks and putting more risk out there. I'm trying to be in risk preservation mode as I see the SPY take downturns, Qs take downturns, even though I'm in some longs. All right, let's keep battling, team. There's more than 526 of you guys out there. So do us the favor, guys. Let us know how the trading day is going. Let us know how you guys enjoyed the stream. Hit the thumbs up. Like always, we appreciate you guys giving us some feedback and hitting that like button. Like always, you guys can check out Benzinga Pro if you guys are wanting to check out the platform that you guys see Ryan using right now. So if you guys want to check this out, like always, go to pro.benzinga.com and check it out today, team. You guys can get action, news, breaking news, right? The moment things hit, if you guys want to be the first, like always, get with Benzinga Pro. SPY starting to bounce a little bit there. There's Array tapped 21.89. So we'll look to see if we cut through there again. If we do cut through there, I'll get out on Array. And this is where I would have added on Array. But with the SPY pulling back the way it is, I want to see if we can get back to at least VWAP to show a little bit of some recovery here before I keep seeing leakage and then just get caught in the leak. Still in that UAL also. So I'm going to leave the Qs on the right-hand side here. I'll do UAL here to the left. Starting to recover now actually towards 42.60s here. So that actually looks good there for me. I wanted to recover, get above VWAP, make a move to 42.70. Then I'm going to be looking for a throwback look add. What is a throwback look add? That's when a stock goes above a level, comes back to that level, and then takes the next push higher. So instead of adding now, I could look for the same ad as it goes above this and then retraces to it. If I add now, if a stock retraces like it is right now towards 42.50, I'm just increasing risk. This is where it's difficult to have position sizing right and going into it in a slow manner versus a fast manner. We'll see what happens here on UAL if it can get above towards that 42.70 and we keep working on our execution.
ALLR at that VWAP. We'll see if it bounces. Hasn't really yet. Watch the volume for that one. Drama still trying to reclaim that VWAP. We'll see if it's successful in doing so.
All right, Array now going towards 2207. That feels good for me there on Array. Could still add to this name if I could see the Qs and the SPY come back. But for right now, since I don't see that, I'm going to leave that just to work by itself. UAL, we'll look to see if we get that move. We continue to work some execution here. And at least the healthcare names don't look too bad with DHR and DXCM. Those are swings that we have on. Well, that I got on. Let's see what happens here on the Qs. We're starting to come back here, 319.60s. Another thing that I could look at is maybe like a Soxel reversal, right? It came back here significantly after a big little pop. Will we recover here? That's something to look at. But this thing is kind of more playing the range, right? And so I'm not the biggest range trader, so I could trade it back here towards like the VWAP 1606, but that's just very tight range right now. We'll see if Netflix can recover. I'm sure it pulled back way further than that 334. Yeah, we went back all the way towards kind of the intraday lows on Netflix. So I could get right back into Netflix, kind of play a rinse and repeat kind of play. But I'm just staying on the sideline until I see the market recover here and push higher.
Drama looks like it's trying to reclaim that VWAP. Let's see if we get a push here on Drama. If we do, 362 would be the target. Need volume to confirm this move, right? So here we are battling at this VWAP level. We get any type of volume pop in here, I think that's a go, and we trade up to 262, or at least try to. We'll take a watch on Drama. It looks like it's setting up here. And by the way, I saw a whole bunch of tech calls come in here. Ticker TECK, calls from 45 up to 47, and the April 21st and the May 19th expiry. A bunch of them in different lot sizes, ranging anywhere from 200 up to almost 300 here. So a lot of tech calls getting bought. TECK, tech.
All right, guys, I've been talking about this one for a while on the kind of the daily and weekly setup. So I'm actually going to take here a little bit of a swing trade in a smaller name. Got to start getting used to taking a swing trade on some of these smaller names. So I am taking Sound here at 299. Let me see, get filled here. Yeah, 299. I'm going to look for the move above threes, right? I've talked about this daily level on this little pullback, right? Nice little kind of pendant pattern. Maybe you call this a symmetrical triangle, trying to go a little bit higher here, but looking for the move towards 325s and then really higher back towards 4 and 450s, risking only off the 290. So I'm only risking here 9 cents. We'll see what happens if this one can get moving today. Sound Hound AI. Let's see if it gets back towards 315 and really gets the motor going. Taking some shots, baby. AI. Run. Joe Dagger. Let's take a look. Run.
Ticker for Drama is DRMA, by the way.
DRMA going a little lower to the 314s there. We'll see what happens on that one. Sound just hanging out there at the threes. UAL did go up there close to the 4770s, but didn't really get there. So it's kind of hard to add here, but it is kind of the throwback look, right? So I'm looking at it right now, but bigger candle than I want to see here. Where's my entry here? 67s. I feel like my first entry is just too far for me to add here. So I'm going to stay on the sideline, look for us to recover my entry first before I'm adding on UAL and increasing risk. Would like to see it recover VWAP from this point, 4260. And after that point, would not want it to break that 4260 on UAL. We'll see if that actually starts making its way back. So 5-minute outlook here. You can see kind of the support on that UAL trade. The big thing for me on that is it needs to get back above 4270s. A move back above 4270s, I'm looking clear in UAL. Sound. Airbnb is the one that might get me out today, team. That one's going a lot lower than I thought it would go on the day. So that one was already up a significant amount, has pulled back here, definitely below 117, like 70 area. I'll get out on that one. It's at 118.96 right now, but has pulled back significantly on the day. This is a swing trade, so I can give it a little bit more room, but definitely pulling back a little bit further than I thought today. Q's going lower here, trying to test that kind of bottom here, right? We had kind of like a double bottom on the 5-minute. We'll see if this could get back there to VWAP. All right, what else is going out there? Smoke Tuna, Jay Wild. How we doing out there, team?
They're taking a look at FIO here. This is halted. Oops, sorry about that. This is halted again, but a huge move, obviously, moving from 6 to 10 here. Just a gigantic pop here. This is probably just a super low float, right? Yeah, float just over 1 million shares here. Did we see any news on this? Yep. Synergy enhanced in Vivio anti-tumor efficacy. Okay, interesting. So it looks like that is popping here. We did get that prior to the market. It looks like a bit of a delayed reaction here. Volume flowing in here. I'd be careful with this one. Low float move.
All right, UAL looks like it wants to get a little bit higher here. Just want to see if the SPY can start making a move back up here through the 414.50s, going to the VWAP, and we start getting a lift there. Now UAL to 42.68. That's looking better here. Array Technologies now pushing higher here. That one looks great here. Now towards 2220s. 2225s was an important level. I'm looking to get all the way up to 2250s on that array and take majority off there, maybe slightly before that 2250s. UAL, I'll look for a little pullback here below my entry to add off of 4260 VWAP. The VWAP. We'll see what happens.
I'm gonna check SPY here.
Yeah.
How's SLGG doing? SLGG still holding that 58 level.
How's Goldman Sachs doing? Did that recover some more?
It's holding there, but it really hasn't bounced nicely yet.
APM pulled back a little bit, starting to come back. Bank of America was red here. Of course, that reported this morning. Now putting multiple bottoms in around the 30 spot. I feel like there's some buyers that probably stepped up there. At least for me, that's what I see. So I could be looking at Bank of America to maybe get as close to that 30 for reversal back to the upside here. But I'm just going to use it as more as a proxy. I'm just looking to see if they could buy up the banks again after getting hit this morning, like Goldman Sachs, Bank of America coming back after their reports. Even though Bank of America had first upside reaction, actually went down big at the gates. And you can see how that's coming back there. Look at the Qs now. If it takes down through 319, that's where we got to be careful. Looking to see if it comes back here towards the 320.50s. But you can see how that's kind of going sideways here. I'll put it a little bit bigger. You can see now we got what, like kind of the triple bottom there around 319.24. So really wouldn't want to see that break. Want to see it, at least for me, get back here towards VWAP. That's going to be kind of more of that bullish move reversal here. Take a look at like Microsoft that put out some good news today. It's actually in the red, right? Not what I expected to see. It did get the lift in there in the pre-market, a little bit of a pop, but really came down fast here. So looking if we can find yesterday's prior range and then start making our way back up. That's right now, right around these levels. Let's see if we can start making our way back here in Microsoft.
Find me at out ALLR 175 to 215. Great little day trade there. Identified pre-market, executed perfectly in the regular market. Way to go, guys. You guys are really crushing it here today. And then Kevin wanted to take a look at ON. This one's been really strong. Our group has been on top of this. Shout out to Jay for really being on top of this from the very beginning here. ON for me, really want to wait until we can clear this area out for taking a new long. I would imagine if it's sold off, would be a little gappy back down here to the 20s. So if it can actually take this area between 32 and 33 out, could be going higher here on ON.
Looking at Apple for VWAP bounce type of trade here. Want to get in here in the lower 70s or close to 60s, but it's already at the 81 spot. This is the 5-minute VWAP bounce type of trade. Back to the upside here in Apple. No pullback yet for me to get in. I would have to get in on the offer side, like 84s, 85s. I feel like I've been chasing a little bit, and then I'm increasing my risk a little bit too much. So it'd be about 32-cent risk there for a kind of 50-cent move higher. You guys know I like to be a little bit better on my risk to reward than that. I always try to be closer towards a 3-to-1 outlook and a 4-to-1 outlook. This is about, if I can get down into the lower 70s and 60s spots. It's not too bad here. Now we're getting that pullback here. You see 73s. Let me see if I can get to like 68, 69s here.
SLGG volume pop here. We want this to continue for this SLGG trade. I'm not in this. I think this is a crow special, but SLGG trying to push off this bottom. Really need to see some volume follow through here to move it. On SLGG.
Took a little bit there of Apple there. It is got there to the spot. So 166.68 there. So now I can risk off of 166.50s. Nice little tight risk here. We'll see what happens here.
Stay focused. Good to see you here this morning. Any insight on Love? So interesting here. I do like Lovesac products. I do think they're a bit overpriced in my opinion, but I actually like the quality of the product. I don't have any angle on the actual stock other than the technical one that we're looking at here. Pretty important point here, right? We break out above 30. I think that this probably goes higher. 30 would be a nice little breakout spot here on Love. You can see we've kind of run up to this 4 times now. And if we can get above that and close, that'd be really good for a potential swing long here. Good spot. Stay focused.
All right. Array making a nice little up move, 22.25. We'll see if it can get to 22.50s, take majority off there. UAL coming right back down here, pulling back a little bit. We'll keep an eye out on some of the trades that I have. I got a couple of trades on now, so definitely just got to manage and focus on more risk preservation first. Things that are in the reward, I can continue to let them work. We'll see what happens.
SLGG 65 cents here on this push up. Again, it's the volume doing this. We really want this volume to continue. We might have a trade on our hands here. Crow, you were patient with this one. Would love to see patience get rewarded with a nice little pop here. And I keep watching SLGG. ALLR looking like that's pushing to new highs here as well. Trying to break that 230 here on ALLR. This is where it stopped last time, 230, the high print. Little bit of size there. They're taking it and through. 236 as high as we got there. Now higher here. ALLR real strong here today. SLGG 65. Let's see.
All right, getting a little pullback here in Apple. We'll look to see if it stops me out. It's kind of on the wick side right now. Don't want to see it get through 166.40 because that's definitely going to get me out here.
Jay, so good call here on TSCO. This is Tractor Supply Company. Nice chart here. Nice looking chart here. The third attempt or fourth attempt through this level here. Looks like we are breaking out here. New all-time high. Let's see if this continues here. This might actually decent swing here if you think this can keep pushing through these highs.
All right, we'll look to see if the SPY and the Qs start that recovery process here. We have sideways action. I want to see it start recovering here. Look at the Qs here. You got this sideways action here. Will we get this up move back through this or down move? That's what I'm looking at. Of course, we're hanging at the bottom of the range. That's not a good sign, but if we can start putting a big candle back to 320.50s, we won't be looking too bad in the SPY and some of these names. Ray up there to 22.26, looking for this to get to 22.50s. Look to see if that can continue to push. Apple, let's go back to the Apple. Well, what will Apple give me today? Will it give me an apple? They say an apple a day, right? Keeps the doctor away. We'll find out if trading Apple a day keeps the doctor away. So what's going on out there, team? How are we looking at the market? Paul C. Casey is a nice one to accumulate. The Casey stock.
What is that? What is Casey? I'm not even.
That's
I don't
the
know
Casey
that one.
General Stores. That's the one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a better gas station.
Convenience stores in multiple Midwestern states.
Yep.
Self-service. Yeah, I'm actually not familiar
Casey's,
with Casey's.
Man. Casey's. Yeah. I actually talked about it here with on pre-market prep often. It's interesting. It's definitely performed well. Tough day today, says Hawaii. I agree with you, Hawaii. It's not just easy, right? So we got to be careful. Always when I feel like it's tough days, what's my first thought? How can I protect my risk first? Then worry about rewards. We'll see what happens right now as we keep kind of pushing here on some stocks. Just really kind of watching to see what's going to happen in the overall market too, because that's going to be a big determining factor here. SPY looks like it wants to cut a little lower here. We got to be careful if we get some next downside action here. You can see how we're kind of in this kind of ascending triangle right now, trying to get back up there. Look at that. Can we get above this? Can we bounce back towards 414.50s? Or are we going to go to 414? That's what I'm looking at for the overall market right now. Apple pulling back here a little bit. Look to see if we get some type of reversal action. Array going higher towards 2230s. That one looks good. We're almost towards our profit take, 2250s. We're going to take that and run on that one. That'd be a nice little day trade for us here. Let's see if it can get up to that level, 2231s now on Array Technology, a solar name.
Our group already hit good day trades here. Look at ALLR, just a huge move here. Great job, everyone involved. Awesome stuff. Huge move, multiple high-a-day breaks here. Good to see this. We want to see this for other plays moving forward here as well. ALR, massive win. Looks like 3 on deck next.
All right. I'll look to see if we can continue riding higher here. SPY now kind of making a little bit of a cut towards the downside. Be careful out there. If we go through the 414, I'm going to definitely be careful here. Qs look like they're wanting to break this rectangle to the downside. So got to be careful on tech names as we're getting this pullback out of that Apple trade there on that pullback. So definitely seeing a little bit of a pullback there in the Qs. Let's see what happens to the SPY. Is this just a fake out to the downside? Out of the Apple trade, though, I will say that. Got stopped out on that one. So pretty much with that stop out that happened in Apple there and what I did earlier in Netflix, I am break even on the day. SPY just made another leg lower there. Be careful there. That was a little bit of a wicked kind of move to the downside there. Just got to stay really kind of close with UAL now. Not going to let it cut back through 53s. It's on the VWAP right now. If it can recover VWAP, it won't look too bad. But it cut through kind of in the 50s, and this could easily go lower. SPY put a big bar there here. So sorry about that, team. I didn't have my charts up there. Didn't notice Ryan kind of bounced on me. But you can see here it's SPY going lower there. Big candle there on that low side. Elevator move down. Let's see if we can recover this, but it doesn't look good right now. Array even pulling back on that action there. Don't like to see that pullback there. I want to see if the market can come back, but right now it looks pretty weak. All right, market looking pretty weak here, starting to turn around, getting really heavy here. Thinking about taking my Array profits, put me back into the green, focus on the other trades here.
Market new leg down here.
Looking to see if we're going to go through 413.50s here or keep tapping it. Trying to see if we're going to get a double bottom there.
Johan, mentioning something here that is difficult with markets. Too much rah-rah bull on pre-market prep this morning. You get complacent. You know, I have not moved out of my bearish camp. I have tried to stay in there. Mitch even asked me directly, what would it take for you to change? I'm trying to hold out. This is what the market does, though. If the market thinks that everyone's on one side, it's going to do the opposite. And maybe you got a little bit of that here this morning. I'm still overall in the bearish camp. We'll see where this turns around. Day's not over. It's early here. We could still even bounce from here. So, Johan, that's definitely part of it. Being able to compartmentalize some of that noise and making your own trades. That's why Mitch and I focus on making your own trades here. Mitch and I have a different outlook on the market right now, but we're still able to find different things to trade, and we're still able to convey that process.
Yeah, I think what's important there is, remember, it's market commentary. It's not necessarily advice here. And I think that that's the important thing, that you need to always take a look at what you're listening to and make your own decision skills, right? That's why you're a trader, right? If not, you would take your money to a financial advisor and let them take control, right? And so always take everything we say with a grain of salt. Remember, we're here for educational purposes only. We can't just kind of trade for you. We can't give you all the answers, whether it's going to be a bullish day or bearish day. The truth is, the market determines that, right? And, you know, our results might not be the results that you guys get. So we'll see what happens. And here, Array pulling back here. I'm going to go ahead and just take the profits off there, because it looks like it's just going to get the pullback through that level. So we take some Array profits to put ourselves back into the green. And now look at that UAL stop out there. So pull back on that UAL stop out there. So pull back through that level. Not going to fight the support, right? Getting out there at the 53s versus the 48s. It's already down there to 45. We'll see if this can reverse on the day. But what does this do? Well, I'm back to actually just slightly green on the day. So Array covered the UAL. Of course, Apple kind of got hit, but Netflix covered that. So break even type of trade right now on the day. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to go to a financial advisor, you know, that's up to you guys, right? But I think the main important thing is that we're doing market commentary so that you guys can, of course, look in different directions and make your own investment decisions.
Jay saying, yeah, Ryan, but you're not on the pre-market prep show. That's true. And I think that one of the valuable things, no matter what the calls are a difference in opinion. And I think that we do a pretty good job of bringing traders and viewpoints that are different, and we work those out here together. I go back to Mitch and I right now. Mitch is kind of more in the bullish camp. I'm not yet. And even so, I think bringing you that difference of opinion is probably going to help. I'll be honest, I didn't catch pre-market prep here today, but this is what markets do, right? They make you change your mind, and then they punish people. And looking at the S&P cash here, we're down what? We're down 24 handles from the highs here. So just
this isn't much though. Look at the run that you got in the after hours, right? This is just a pullback to yesterday's range.
Yep.
Remember what I talked about in the pre-market? I've seen this trend happen before. It just more along was still looking bullish on the certain stocks. So we took certain trades, and that's all you can do. That's what day trading is about, right? Intraday momentum turned here back to the downside. And what do we got to do? Got to be nimble and quick, team. Nimble and quick.
And Jet saying you cannot call this market, LOL. With you here on this, Jet. You got to react to it, right? Got it. This is what I was saying at the beginning. Have a plan for each scenario just in case what you think is going to happen doesn't materialize. I've been wrong more times than I can count, and I assure you I'm going to be wrong again. In fact, coming on the show every day and being like, yep, I'm still bearish as the market is trading up makes me look dumber and dumber and dumber, but we'll see where we end up here. I could very easily continue to be wrong, and if it is, then I will have missed a pretty nice leg up here. But I know that there's going to be more opportunity, and I'm going to stick with my guns here. I'm going to stick with the way that I feel until it's completely invalidated. I just gave you a scenario today on when I might start changing my mind based on some of the technical moves here.
Yeah, you guys have heard my outlook, and I just feel like even overall, like even with pullbacks, I think all pullbacks will be bought in this market. That's just the way I feel.
SLGG, hats off to the crow here, man. SLGG looking real weak. You did a great job waiting for the lows. I think that's the most impressive thing here, Crow, is not actually your call or your identification of this stock. To me, and we're talking about process all the time. Let's talk about Crow's process. Waited for the stock to bottom, waited for it to show him a bottoming formation, ended up scooping some, and now collecting that profit on the way back to the VWAP. Do you think the stock's going to double from here? He's not waiting for that, taking some of those gains. Let us know where you end up closing this trade, Crow. I think this was a really excellent example in kind of waiting out a stock that's diverging from the VWAP, waiting for a bottom and a potential bounce spot. The trigger here was absolutely the volume, right? It held this level a few times. We start to see this volume expand into this move, and look what happens to the price. It goes right along with it. So I think that your entry, Crow, again, correct me if I'm wrong here. I think your entry was right around 60 cents. You're looking at a 13-cent move off that bottom here. Great job picking that up here. Great stuff here on SLGG, folks.
The Super League Gaming. Got a call of Ann Han. We'll see if it gets back there towards $1 on the day.
Love seeing this. That call helping out Lensley here. Absolutely love it.
All right, team. We'll see if we start getting some recovery in the market, but definitely leaking on the day. And it was a quick leak. Was it news related? I don't think it was news related. That's why I was taking a look at like stocks like Microsoft to see what would happen there. But let me see what's going out there right now. So looks like around 10:09, we got something to hit from Reuters saying FDC says deposit insurance fund reserve ratio on pace to rise. That's interesting. And of course, live right now, looks like Gary Gensler's hearing is going on. Don't know if that's having an effect on the market. Of course, not listening in on that right now. How are the banks doing here? Banks trying to go through that 30, at least Bank of America. I'm going to look to see if that recovers 30 later in the day here. Goldman Sachs pulled back here. It did get up there towards 334, started getting a little bit of a bounce. JPM right back down here. So keeping an eye out on some of these. Let's see how a cheaper name that did report today is doing, kind of a regional bank. Taking a look around to see what happens. KRE going lower after having a strong day yesterday. And that's just how quickly it can pull back, right? Yesterday, what made me a little bit more bullish was seeing the financials strong. And later in the day, I still played success, but I was able to cover it really quickly before that big rally came. So we'll see what happens today. If we do get a big rally again, or are we just going to continue going lower? SPY is down there to 413s, and happy I was able to nail Netflix for a quick trade there. And it did get up to 337. I kind of sold really near the top today. So we'll see if we can get Netflix back up there towards the VWAP. Got to sell your peanuts when the circus is in town. That's the truth, Lori. That's the truth. Some traders, they don't sell on this first move here like I got on Netflix. Then they get stopped out. That's just the way trading goes. Keeping an eye out on some different names to see if we start seeing some recovery here, but it just looks like a little bit of slowdown action now as we're starting to get a little slow up here. At 10:36, team, we got an 11 a.m. interview for you guys coming up on All Access. Stick around, team. We've got a lot more for you right here on Live Trading with Benzinga. Pinky up, team. Let's go. Johan, the problem with what you're asking for is that the truth is it would be a guess on what you're asking for. You're asking for us to be able to decipher between if the buying volume is actual buying taking place or is it degenerate zero DTE gamblers. The truth is nobody knows, Johan. The only people who probably have insight on data like that is like maybe clearing firms like Citadel or something like that. But the truth is, I'm not going to have access to that data. I don't think Ryan has access to that data. I don't think Dennis has access to that data. You're not going to know.
Real quick, speaking of access to data, I want to show you an example here that just happened from this morning. So we talk about process, we talk about idea generation, we talk about all of these things. One of the things that we recently introduced to Benzinga Pro is the high beta squawk. High beta squawk is just another additional squawk. It's different from Charlie. Charlie's still there. Charlie's still doing his thing. Charlie's still making people boatloads of money. But we added another source here to try and find even more moves. And this love drop here, this was actually squawked at 1026 by that squawker. You can see it was 32, called it right before this drop. Now, Southwest Airlines grounds all flights across the U.S. after a system-wide computer glitch. I actually just spoke to somebody who had a flight delayed on Southwest. Just goes to show you, though, this call here, this was a moneymaker call. And like I said, Charlie's been around. He is an institution, but we are continually trying to add different informational sources for you traders in here. High beta squawk nailed one here today. Absolutely.
Yeah, that
awesome.
could definitely have been the reason also why my UAL trade turned around, right? Let's just be honest. Look at the reaction that you're seeing in UAL. Look at that reaction there, that downside turn there. And it's so important to have access, right, to different features that can support you. And Stay Focused says, they love Charlie. Hey, you guys can definitely use it. So definitely UAL turning around there. We'll see if the SPY starts making its way back. It's kind of just slowed down here. That's one thing that I could definitely say. It's not going down as fast as it was. The Qs overall came down to 318.25, now just kind of holding up here. So we'll see what happens on some of these names. Will they continue going lower? You see UAL definitely going lower there. So love definitely that news. Looks like, grounded kind of things, all flights delayed.
Computer glitch.
I mean, they just went through this. You would think they would have learned by now, right? I mean, Ryan, if this was you right now, you're head of a customer service, right? I mean, you can definitely know in these situations what would have been your first reaction the first time it happened versus the second time that it happened.
The first time, from someone in my position, the first time it happened, my sole goal would be finding the postmortem on exactly what took place and then solving those issues so it doesn't happen going forward. Now, the one caveat that I don't know, I'm not there. I have no idea exactly what happened. So the one caveat that I'm going to give them is technology problems cannot always be foreseen and prevented. However, to your point, Mitch, you just went through something like this. I would think that one of your priorities here would be to make sure that it just doesn't happen again. And let me say this, I am a very impatient traveler. When I get delays in flights and things like that, it stresses me out. I don't like it. I don't really think that's breaking news. I would imagine most of the people in this channel feel the exact same way. But as a customer, I would be just absolutely furious, especially if I was a customer that was affected by both of these. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. Now, that being said,
it's pretty bad.
Safety's got to be first. Safety's got to be first with air travel. So.
It's pretty bad when you go and you request the FAA to pause airline departures, right? I mean, that means it's not just a kind of like part of your system going down. It's probably blackout kind of thing, right? Where you're not having access to kind of itineraries, like who's supposed to be on the plane. I mean, you kind of need that, right? And things like that. So definitely big issues going on here. Love already took a hit on this last time and now could be taking even further of a hit. This was one of the favorite airlines before the pandemic. Now keeps hitting kind of the down move, and people remember this. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to go on a Southwest Airlines. I don't want to book a Southwest Airlines. So
neither do
I've been booking trips, and I've been going more American Airlines. I don't know why, but I've been trusting more of American Airlines as of late.
I'm a Delta guy, but I do American when I have to. I only do United if I'm absolutely forced to. United lost a set of golf clubs a number of years ago. They
lost your golf clubs, man. That'll do it to you. That'll do it.
Like you were saying, Mitch, you'll remember forever. You'll remember forever. Walter saying that loves having problems because they're still running Windows XP. LOL.
I really hope that's not true. I really hope that's not true, but.
And SLGG, just to kind of tie the bow on this, SLGG, again, nice move here, went right to the VWAP, was rejected there. When you're coming up with a day trade plan, we never know what stocks are really going to run. Having targets along the way, really, really important. Right here, if one of your targets on SLGG was the VWAP, you were okay, and that is still a green trade for you. We saw some stuff here. We had a number of moves here. ALLR, Drama, SLGG, just a number of awesome moves hit here by our community. Just absolutely great to see. Some of you were even trading FIO, weren't you? Or HTGM, the halts.
All right, Netflix trying to start making its way back here. I'm looking to see the market starting to make its way back. Now, the only question I think you got to kind of look at is this going to be a buy the dip situation or a leak out for the rest of the day? The truth is, nobody knows. Nobody knows out there. The only thing you can do is always what? Set up setups, take trades, understand your risk, and take it in that manner, right? That's what we try to show here. We're not here to have you guys do copycat trading. We're here for you guys to kind of enjoy learning from our processed approach, right? I think that's the most important thing, definitely to learn. The truth is there's moments in the market where nobody knows where the market's going to go. Very key example is right now. Is this going to be a leak all day, or is this going to be a pushback here to VWAP and a buy the dip situation? We'll find out. American Airlines coming down off of that news. Yes, it could be a time to kind of get it. I was looking at 1305 earlier in the day, but the problem is with negative news like that, you don't necessarily know if it's only Southwest Airlines, right? That's the only thing that I would have to start to question, right? Because it seems like this has happened twice. Of course, we haven't heard it from another airline, but I'd have to at least question it.
ALLR breaking through the highs again and through 3 here. ALLR, huge move here today. Nice job for anyone that caught that. GSMG, huh, Crow? That's what you're looking at?
Riot pulling back here below the VWAP. If you're thinking that's kind of your type of play. I saw Mara mentioned in the chat. Michael H., I see you, man. Don't worry. We got you in the chat. See that Mara? Let's put Mara to the left-hand side here. You can see how that's also trying to reclaim the VWAP. Very similar plays, right? Very similar plays here in Riot and Mara. You choose how you want to go about it. Not plays that I'm going after right now, but I can see why the charts are looking interesting for you guys out there. We'll see if these can reclaim the VWAP and go a little higher. Riot Platforms, Marathon. Really, it's about the Qs kind of recovering and the SPY recovering. We are getting some recovery, but it's also just kind of just little stair step up. We actually got kind of more of these elevator down. 3 hard red candles expanding on the body show pretty hard, significant downturn. I want to see it get back through those levels. So that's back through 320, showing me reversal. Before I get too quickly that I think that tech is going to get strong today, I need to see it, at least for me, back at 320 for the Qs. Overall, DHR is probably going to be my top swing right now. I'm going to keep watching for this one to keep working its way. It got out of this kind of bottoming levels around 253. I don't want to see it break. I want to see it continue to work back to 60s, to 70s, and I could see this even getting to 280s. I'm going to keep letting this work. We'll see what happens in DHR, Danaher Corporation. All right, looking around, we're almost towards 11. It's 10:46, team. If you guys got any stocks you guys want us to take a look at, throw them up in the chat. We're here to take a look. What do you guys think about that? Copycat trading. Surely it's absolutely ridiculous. Any thoughts, Money Mitch, Ryan? Well, I'll give at least my thoughts. There's different services out there. I'm not going to go ahead and name them because that's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about the overall idea, right, of copycat trading. The truth is that as everybody goes after one strategy, the truth is there's going to be winners and losers. The reason why I don't believe in copycat trading is that the truth is you're always going to be late to the trade. Unless you necessarily are taking the exact trade as a trader, and majority of the times you're going to be reacting what? You're going to be later on the entries and later on the exits. That decreases the probability for winning in my outlook, if I just think about it just overall. And then I always thought this, right? I can tell you guys, at least from my experience, what I've gone through. Of course, this is my experience. My experience might not be yours, but I've been in different chat rooms. I've traded with people that trade really fast. I've tried to be faster than them. And I can tell you right now, I failed to be. And why? Because one thing that you got to always keep in mind is that you're trading their strategy, right? They're going to be a lot better. They've probably been trading that strategy for 20 odd years versus you that might be trading that strategy for 1 year, right? And so that's the only thing that I would kind of mention. I don't think it's a good thing, but like always, you guys make your own investment decisions. In my eyes, I think copycat trading is an easy way for disaster, but hey.
And I'll add to that, Mitch. Again, just to kind of go back to what you and I talk about all of the time when it comes to process here. Chat rooms can be great tools. I'm not gonna sit here and destroy all chat rooms. Obviously, some are nefarious. I'm not talking about those. But chat rooms, learning from other traders can be very, very powerful. Mm-hmm. But as far as copycat trading goes, this is why we talk about process so much. It's going to be much more beneficial for you to learn our process or anyone else's process rather than copycatting the trades. Now, once you learn the process, you might be identifying some of the same stocks, but you'll have more of an understanding of why you're entering that, how the stock trades, how you're going to exit, anything that applies to that trade. If you understand the process, you're going to make a better trade. And it's not just as simple as so and so bought this stock, so I'm going to buy it too. Instead of, or if you contrast that to something like this stock pulled back to VWAP and looks like a good entry here, there's more of like a why or a process behind that. And if you understand that, you're going to do better. So copycat trading, if you're just buying the same thing because somebody else is buying it, that's a way to inevitably get hurt, as Mitch was saying here. However, if you learn that person's process, or how they're valuing or how they're looking at stocks or how they're entering stocks, you can actually use that to your benefit here. So we're going to keep focusing on process here. Again, we don't look at all of what the room has done here today. There's been a whole bunch of call outs here today that have been great, and it's all process based, and that's what we want to stick with.
Yep, that's what I'm all about, and we'll see what we get this kind of continued leaking today. It seems to me like we could get at least a little bit of leaking still here. So I'm just going to take it easy instead of trying to push into this, just trying to wait until the action kind of gives up, like kind of starts going sideways here. Looks like we're still seeing some leaking. That's why I'm looking at the SQQQs. I was looking at like a SOX S type of trade here. But the problem with it, it's not at VWAP. If it was 1850s, I probably would have come after it here. But up here towards where the support is, 1858, can maybe risk right underneath it to 54. I didn't want to come after it there. It's already pushing higher. I think this could make a move towards 1888s and then maybe 19s. But it's going to be all dependent on how much leaking you have in the market. You can see we went back to 413s here on the SPY. We didn't make it back to VWAP. That shows a little bit more weakness. We'll look to see if we can continue the leak there, or do we get some reversal? If I look at the sectors overall, remember how there was a lot of green earlier. It was only really healthcare that was on the red. Now you got technology, real estate, financials, communications, utilities, cyclicals, defensives, energy, and industrials into the red. Just shows us what? A little bit of reversal on what was happening. The market breadth today isn't that great. So we'll look to see if it can turn around later in the day. It's about 10:51. We're going to be wrapping up soon in just about 9 minutes here. So we'll take some stocks from the chat. We'll keep looking at the market, but I don't think I'm going to be getting into too much day trading action further. But of course, you guys can keep up with all the swing trading action and more that we will have on, of course, Start Swing Trading later today. I got Ryan Rosbiani joining me. You guys smash the like, check that out a little bit later today to see Start Swing Trading. That starts at 3 p.m. Eastern every single day.
Real quick, Lensley, right here, expressing exactly what we just talked about. Exactly. My day was because I understood why Crow entered at the bottom of the range. I knew it would move up to the VWAP, hit the VWAP for my day. I've been watching for months, working on my execution. This is exactly what we're trying to get to, Lensley. Hats off to you for being able to learn from somebody else and then apply the methodology yourself to the actual trade here. If you keep doing that, you're going to keep being profitable. Take care of yourself, Rich.
All right, took a little bit of a starter here, swing trade on Honeywell. So I'm taking a swing trade on Honeywell. I talked about how I wanted to see some retracements levels on Honeywell. It's pulled back to 197 where I wanted to get it yesterday. So I'm taking at least a little bit of an entry here, willing to get it back towards 195 and then risk slightly below the 195. So we'll see what happens on Honeywell. Of course, I'm also going to be looking to see if GE can get to 100. Look at GE today. Look at this little pullback, little VWAP bounce right back up there.
That blue line?
Yeah, man. And it's holding the VWAP also pretty well too. GE, strong stock. Look at the daily chart, how it's held the 9 EMA. Hasn't broken this trend for a while and continuing higher on GE. It's a diversified industrial play. So I look at the leader in capitalization, Honeywell. We just bounced off the 190s. This one loves to do moves more on the monthly and weekly outlook. So you can see here how it has a tendency of running. And when it runs, yeah, it can easily get 20 points, right, in a couple of weeks. So we'll see what happens here. If it's had a nice little pullback, can this get going? Can it get back above 200? Taking a little bit of a starter here in Honeywell. We'll see what happens there.
All right, Mitch, I'm going to give you my outlook here on the SPY real quick, and then I'm going to get back to my daily activities here.
Sounds good, my friend.
Kind of like a repeat. All right, go ahead and click it so I don't remove it.
I got you, my friend.
We're both trying to do too much. All right, so again, this is just the same outlook from this morning. We're just really riding this trend line. You can see we traded right up to it. We're rejected here. It's really important where we close here today. If we close lower, I would expect a little bit more follow through tomorrow. Maybe we even start a little green and then reverse. But again, what I'm watching for is a close above this trend line, and then inevitably what happens at the 500-day moving average and what happens at 420. Those could be all around the same area. So that's what I'm going to be watching for here today. Some of the other moves that we should watch today in terms of what's happening later in today, honestly, GMDA here, right? GMDA, if this holds here, maybe we get a volume pop and we get a CFRX move like we got yesterday. I'd even throw Drama on here. Drama has broken down, but it really started to trade sideways now. So maybe we go through a little bit of a lull here. One of the things that I'm going to do is mark the bottom of this off, this 284 level. Maybe if we get a volume pop, you'll have another afternoon opportunity here. So going to watch where the SPY closes. Drama, GSMG, we'll see where we go, and we'll be right back at this again tomorrow.
All right. Have a good one, Ryan. Always good to have you, my friend. Ryan's getting out of here. I'll pull down his charts. I'm going to get to my charts, and we do have all access for you guys coming up after this, so don't go anywhere. You don't have to go anywhere. You can stay right here on the stream. Find out from an interesting story. Like always, that's what it's all about on All Access. You guys know I always talk about story stocks, right? And a lot of that is when the stocks get into that hype, right? Well, coming up, we have a nice company to get into. We will get into a therapeutics company. So you don't want to be missing this. It's starting up in just a few minutes. Let's stick around, team. All right, let's take a look at what else is going on right now. Honeywell is getting that little bounce. We'll see what happens if that can kind of push. It just went down to the 197. Is the SPY going lower here? That's what I'll be looking at, 413. It is seeming like it's kind of just going sideways right now, to tell you the truth, team. So we'll see what happens there if we actually start seeing this to come back here towards the VWAP or not. Apple overall just pulling back to the 166. We'll see if this can get back up there towards the 167. Microsoft trying to recover that 288 level. It did give a little bit of a pop here in the pre-market. Has been trying to keep going through the daily levels, right? 290 seems like a big resistance for it now. We'll see if it can get through those levels. NVIDIA overall, nice little pullback after the 280 rip towards the upside. Now starting to make a move here. Will it keep that move right back towards 281 and start moving higher? SOXL, way to maybe play this reversal back to the upside if you're looking for the move right now. I don't mind trying to maybe play it towards 16 off of 1575 here. I'm pretty much break even, but this would be a little bit of a tighter trade here, right? Got to stay really tight to it. But there is some bottoming action here on the 15-minute. That's actually closer towards where? The 1570s. You see that kind of wick turnaround, right? So that's kind of the risk right now for me. If I could get it to the 78s, that doesn't seem too bad. Now I'm risking only 8 cents there on the downside. That's about 0.55. To the upside to 16, right? Now you're talking 22, a 1.4% risk here. Not too bad on the risk to reward there. A little bit more than 2 to 1. We'll see what happens here on the pullback. If I could get that entry there, don't think I will, but let's see if it pulls back right now, and we could take a little bit of a shot here for a reversal style trade. So this is another thing you can do. Look at the 1 minute, right? Kind of see where you're kind of seeing that bottoming action. And so a lot of it has come down into this space off the 75 area. So let's see if we get a little move into the 78, maybe bid off 75, and then coming up through the 16. All right, that's SOXL outlook here. We'll be wrapping up in just a few minutes. AB will be joining me to do the interview, so don't go anywhere, team. Smash it up. All right, you guys are talking about Boyle in the chat. Oh, man. Take a look at that. Boyle. Oh, I got to take a look at Boyle. Man, this thing's down to $3. Holy moly, man. This is the Widowmaker for sure. Boyle down to $3 there. We'll look to see if natural gas ever really turns around. In my eyes, you guys know, it's on the ban list. I'm not allowed to trade it right now. What I mean by ban list is choose stocks that you can trade, that you feel like you have an advantage in. For me, it's not this one. That's for sure. Basic materials now moving higher. One of the stocks that I was going to watch was going to be X today. Okay, so let's take a look at that, see how it's doing. It's pulling back here towards support, so it doesn't look bad on that outlook here. You see the daily candle, but nothing of strength there, right? And so I'm still keeping an eye on it. It's not the strongest move. It is pulling back on the day, though. If I wanted, I could risk off to kind of the 2630s or move back through 2670s here. Doesn't look too bad, actually, for kind of maybe a little bit more of that swing trading size. I'll take a shot here on the swing trade here off the 30s. Let's see what happens here. Let me take a look a little bit more on the 4-hour chart, how we're looking. It's just a little bit too much the high end, right? And so I'd have to stick really close to the risk. And that's all that really would matter here is if I stick towards like the 34, the 35, yeah, then it doesn't seem too bad of a risk to reward. You're talking about 10 cents to the downside and what? A move back up towards 74. That's your 28 cents to the upside, right? So that doesn't look too bad. Almost a 3-to-1 outlook here for X. We just have to take it off of here, off the 46, risk off of that kind of that 35, 36 spot. We'll see what happens there in U.S. Steel. Copper having a good day there. That is going higher. SCCO doing well. FCX now coming off of the VWAP. This doesn't look too bad to maybe take a little bit of an uplift. It has pulled back, now going a little bit sideways. Can it get through the 43 outlook here for Freeport McMoran? We'll see what happens there in FCX. These are all basic materials that are in the green today. We'll see what other sectors can get back into the green. Energy getting back into the green a little bit right now. Industrials just slightly behind that. Keeping an eye out on SPY. SPY still kind of going a little bit sideways. Can it get the lift there? It's just been kind of on the leak as of late. We'll see what happens on the SPY. That's going to do it for me. I'm going to go ahead up and wrap up on my live trading action, but we got a lot more for you guys on All Access coming up. So don't go anywhere, team. That's about to start up. And of course, AB is going to be joining me. So we'll see what happens there. Let's go ahead and kick it to AB. Let's bring him on. How we doing, AB?
I'm good, man. It's good to be back in the office. How are you doing, Money Mitch?
Not bad at all. Ready to go ahead and see some more stories, of course. In All Access, we uncover the stock stories. And you guys know how I'm all about stories, stocks. So it's always good to get the stories from the company themselves, right? See the outlook. Of course, for me, it's always about what are the expectations and how we can meet those expectations. So I'll definitely tune in on your interview, AB. Excited to see it. I'm going to go ahead and kick to the background, and we'll see you next time, my friend.
There we go. Thank you, Money Mitch. All right, guys, for All Access today, we've got a couple exciting biotech stocks joining with us. First, we're going to be talking to Cingulate. And I mean, the biotech sector as a whole, it's one that I've been talking about a lot recently. Of course, one of the most beaten down sectors once interest rates started rising. Really, I mean, if you look at here, let me pull up my Benzinga Pro. If you look at the XBI ETF, I mean, took off during COVID. Of course, all these different companies, people were buying for COVID plays, COVID vaccine plays. The biotech sector kind of took off and then really rolled over before the rest of the market. But some of these names are starting to heat back up. And now is the time really that you can be looking at a lot of these biotech stocks and seeing, okay, this could be a good opportunity now as a lot of them are down, 50, 60, 70+%. And especially the, more growthy pre-revenue ones, as those are the type of companies that are going to be hit the hardest in a higher interest rate environment. But as I've talked about before, I mean, we are, in my opinion, getting closer and closer to the end of the cycle of this, of the Fed raising interest rates. So again, I've been adding some of these biotech names in my portfolio, but without further ado, we are going to be talking to Mr. Shane Schaffer from Cingulate. So let's go ahead and give Shane, our very special Zinger Nation, welcome and bring him on the stream. Mr. Schaffer, how you doing today? Welcome to Benzinga.
I'm good, Aaron, and from your lips to God's ears. Let's hope this market turns for the biotech sector here sometime soon.
Yeah, I guess before we get started, I mean, do you have any qualms or any disagreements with what I've just said?
Not a word, unfortunately. I wish I could. I mean, it's been a tough market. A lot of companies have been hit down, and right now, I know in our opinion, based upon the fact that we're going into a $22 billion a year market, for us to be in the dollar stock conversation is painful for us to hear, but also I think it does create a nice opportunity for some to do their due diligence, dig in, and understand our company as well as a lot of others.
Let's get into it. So Shane, let's start. Do you mind just giving me a brief overview of Cingulate, the audience, and let them know what it is exactly you guys are doing?
Yeah, so for Cingulate, I think what really, what makes us so unique is the fact that we have developed from the ground up a proprietary drug delivery technology. Now, this isn't what we set out to do. When we started the company in 2012, 2013, our goal was to create the ideal ADHD medications. And in order to do that, we had to make sure we were able to deliver the stimulant medication class. So we have two different assets. One's an amphetamine-based product using the pure isomer of dextroamphetamine. The other is a methylphenidate-based product using dexmethylphenidate. And we wanted to deliver the right drug at the right time, in the right ratio, and in the right style. And we looked at all the technologies out there. We tried one, it failed. And none of the other technologies could do exactly what we needed to do. That's where we said, okay, we either hang up our shoes and call it a day, or we proceed and develop our own technology. And that's exactly what we did. We built the precision timed release drug delivery platform. What it allows us to do, Aaron, is it gives us the ability to deliver 2, 3, 4, up to 5 potentially of the same or different drugs, and then precisely time when that drug is going to be delivered and introduced to the human body, in what style that release is going to be. Is it going to be a pulse and immediate release, or are we going to sustain release it over a period of time? And we can do that in 3 different ways. So for our first product, we pulse, we wait 3 hours, then we give a 90-minute sustained release. We wait 4 hours and we give another pulse. So this little technology is what I'm holding in my hand here. Very small. It's kind of like I just dropped it. Looks like a little flying saucer, but it's a small tablet. Gives us that precise ability to deliver the right drug at the right time, in the right ratio, and in the right style. That's what allows us to do this. Our 2 lead assets are in ADHD, as we talked about, and our 3rd asset is in the anxiety category, which is a really exciting opportunity for Cingulate. It's going to be a product that is not a benzodiazepine. Those are your products like diazepam and Xanax, and products that have, they're great at, bringing anxiety down short term, but they have with it a lot of withdrawal, dependency, and side effect issues. We're going to be able to solve a problem that's been around for over 50 years, just like we're doing in ADHD.
Yeah, so I think ADHD is an area where a lot of people are familiar with the different timings of the medicines. Of course, with drugs like Vyvanse or Adderall, you have instant release, or you also have extended release. What is can you walk me through, I guess, that from in layman's terms? Like, why would one person maybe need instant release and some person need extended release? Has one been more popular than the other?
Yeah, so I think I'll take you back through it. I mean, this category has been around 70 years. And, I use an example that I think works pretty well for any audience is, let's just take a look at phones that we've had, the mobile phones. You got your Gordon Gekko phone, you got your flip phones, and then now we have our iPhones and Galaxies for those Android users. You had your immediate release stimulants, so Ritalin and Adderall, let's call it. And those were your Gordon Gekko phones. Those were your drugs you had to take 2, 3, 4 times a day in order to get your symptoms relieved throughout your entire active day. It was very troublesome. It was difficult. You had to go see a nurse, or you had to carry a bunch of medications around in your pocket. And these are controlled substances. It leads to ineffective duration, sometimes a slow onset, and oftentimes it leads to abuse and diversion. Move into the late 90s and early 2000s. Now we got our flip phones. And what we have there is products like Vyvanse, like Adderall XR, Focalin XR, and Concerta. Great drugs. And, I would have loved to have, I launched Focalin XR as part of that deal at Novartis. But these are good drugs. They took away that late morning dose. So instead of taking, the drug at 7, then 11, then again at 2 or 3, now you just took that one drug and then you either did one of 2 things. You just suffered in the afternoon. You experienced crash, rebound. You had lack of efficacy, obviously. You started, if you're a high school kid, what do you do at 2, 3 in the afternoon? You go to sports, or you get into a car and drive. And that's when your medications are wearing off. What Cingulate envisions ourselves and what our data has demonstrated to date, and we're in phase 3 right now, which is just supplementing the data we already have on file. We are now going to provide patients for the first time ever the ability to have entire active day efficacy. And that's a key word, active day. You don't want this medication to be around for 24, 36, 48 hours. That's crazy. What you want the drug to do is work from breakfast to dinner, from home to homework, from revelry to taps. Get you through the full part of your day where you need to be active, where you don't want your ADHD symptoms to be occurring. You don't want to have to take a booster dose every single day, which is what 60% of patients do and about 90% of patients need. We're going to be able to cover the entire spectrum of your ADHD day. Our data thus far has shown a much better tolerability than head-to-head comparisons with another ADHD medication. And we still give more medication, but we do it in the right way. We don't give you too much up front and then not enough in back, or we don't give you just a very pedestrian 50-50%. We've ratioed this medication precisely. We've timed it precisely. And we deliver the drug as a pulse up front. So you start working within 5 to 30 minutes. Unheard of in ADHD. Vyvanse, you got to wait 2 hours for it to reach its first full efficacious measure. That's crazy. Do people do things in the morning? I do.
Yeah, I didn't know that about Vyvanse, that it takes that long to kick in, because I'm sure a lot of people take it and they think, oh, okay, it's going to start helping me in the next 30 minutes, hour, or whatever. And then maybe they even feel a little bit of a placebo effect, but I'm sure a lot of people don't know that it takes, almost you got to wake up at, 2 hours before you would have gotten up, take it, and then go back to bed.
And if I had an ADHD parent with me right now, that's exactly what they would tell you. I wake my kid up at 5 or 6 in the morning, give him or her their medication, and say, go back to sleep. I'll come wake you up when it's time for breakfast. Asinine. That's the problem that they face. Now, the bigger problem, as much of a problem as that is now we hit noon. Every one of those market leaders I just mentioned, Concerta, Adderall XR, Focalin XR, and Vyvanse, that's $16 billion in sales. All of them stop delivering medication around 11 a.m., maybe noon if you're lucky. That's it. They're done. So now what's happening at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? That medication is precipitously falling. So you're getting side effects. You're getting dysphoria. You're getting stomach upset. Most importantly, your ADHD is back. What do you need to do? Well, if you're under the age of 18, you can't carry a controlled substance, a C2, in your pocket. That's a federal crime. So you better not be doing that, but that's what people need to do, and I understand. We deliver precisely at hour 7, so right around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We don't deliver a huge dose. Again, bad idea. We deliver 20% of that overall total daily dose. We can show you the data. We stop the crash, stop the rebound, stop the blood levels falling off. Most importantly, we extend the efficacy. And then from a societal benefit, 99% of the abuse and diversion is your generic short-acting Ritalin, your generic short-acting Adderall. We eliminate those off the market. So and now we have a drug shortage of Adderall and Ritalins out there. Well, we're going to solve those problems too. So there's a lot of issues in ADHD that haven't been solved, and they weren't solved because a drug delivery technology didn't exist to do it. We're doing it in a $22 billion category.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the shortages, and that was something that I wanted to ask about. Something I'm also curious about, and I've heard this sentiment a lot, whether it was in college with students or even, in the professional world. What would you say to people who maybe feel like they're not diagnosed with ADHD, or they're not prescribed some of this stuff, but they feel like, okay, if I don't start taking Adderall or Vyvanse, I'm not going to be on a level playing field with everyone else that is?
Yeah, first of all, I'd say, number one, if you think you have it, you definitely should go see a trained professional in ADHD. Primary care docs are fantastic. They don't have the time or the training most often to do that proper diagnosis. You need a proper diagnosis. And I would suggest is for kids, it would be a developmental pediatrician or a child psychiatrist. For an adult, it's an adult psychiatrist or a neurologist that are trained in ADHD. There's a very well understood set of tests and exams that a physician will put that patient through to make sure, okay, you do have ADHD. Because the last thing I ever want to see happen, or quite frankly, I think anyone would want to note happen, is the drugs being used in an inappropriate way. There also could be an underlying disorder such as depression or anxiety or something else. So that's why you definitely want to make sure you're seeing the right doc. And if you are using this medication, and I am a doctor of pharmacy, by the way, so I'm not giving medical advice here, but been around this category a while. If you're taking it and you don't have ADHD, that's just not safe. So seek a trained healthcare provider that knows ADHD well. And what they're going to tell you is this: after the exam and the confirmation, if it is such, we want to cover your active day. I want to make it so that you can take one medication once a day, get a fast onset of action, and then give you that entire active day efficacy till 4, 5, 6 p.m. So you don't have to take many more booster pills. I want to make you safe and effective in terms of the tolerability. And right now they have no choice to do that. Our products, both of them, are designed to do just that.
Got it. And then you mentioned the shortage. I mean, I'm sure you've seen some stuff about, people watching TikToks about ADHD
Yep.
and Adderall and all this and whatnot. Do you think this shortage is more of a product of people of like a growing problem of ADHD or mental health in the country, or more so of people just like essentially the demand for the drug going up?
I think it's a couple things. I think one, we have better diagnostic criteria. Adult ADHD is something that is finally starting to come into its own under proper diagnosis and treatment. The latest version of the DSM addressed adult ADHD. There's a group out of APSARD, which is the American Professional Society of ADHD and Related Disorders. It's a mouthful, huh? That is basically taking on, and they're using Len Adler and Tom Spencer, two of the greatest ADHD advocates in adult ADHD. They're going to really build treatment guidelines around this. But there's a lot more awareness of it. There's a lot more diagnosis of it and understanding of it. The adult segment is the fastest growing segment in ADHD. About 70% of people that have childhood ADHD are adults with ADHD. The other 30% chose careers where their ADHD doesn't bother them. So it's still there. It's a genetic issue. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, we've seen the news, we've seen the TikToks. There was a company that was doing telemedicine there. I don't like those things. But again, I go back to proper diagnosis, understanding the disorder, and it's a real issue. I've seen it firsthand, and I've seen others that have really benefited from proper treatment.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the telehealth. I know someone personally that did there, and they were prescribed something within like 10 minutes. It was like shocking. I was like, that doesn't seem safe. That doesn't seem.
Yeah, that's wrong. It's unethical. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, so Well, let's flip over to the company real quick and some financials. So there's about $5.4 million cash on hand. What kind of burn rate do you currently have, and how long would you expect this to last, if needed?
Sure. So we, it's really funny. Well, it's not funny. We started looking to raise some capital. We do have capital in hand, which is great. So we're in a decent position there. We're pre-revenue, so we're always going to raise capital. The key thing for us is number one, we have funding in the second quarter. We'll continue to raise capital. We have two key things we want to focus on. Number one is obviously having the capital necessary to keep achieving our milestones. We completed our fast fed study last year, and the data came out early this year, which was tremendous in showing that our product can be taken with or without food, which is a major issue for a lot of patients. You just got to take it the same way every time. And the good news is it's not going to affect your blood levels. You're going to still get that medication on board with or without food. We want to continue to raise capital so we can do our phase 3 studies. We're in phase 3 right now. We're a late stage company. Again, I keep mentioning it, but I got to get this message through, in a $22 billion ADHD market. So our phase 3 trial is underway with adults. We're looking at the onset and duration. That data will be in the mid-year, so July, August timeframe. We're starting our children and adolescent phase 3 study in the June, July timeframe as well this year. So we obviously need to raise capital to achieve those continuous milestones. Second thing is there's a lot of tough deals out there, as you kind of were talking about, Aaron. I mean, it's a tough market. We're doing our best to make sure we keep our shareholders, our current shareholders, and all those folks that invest in our business, including ourselves that are founders of the company. We want to make sure we protect our shareholders and do what's best for our shareholders. And that means having the capital, but also making sure we do what we can to find the best cost of capital out there. So we're going to continue to raise capital this year. We're going to do it in pieces and let that valuation and market cap hopefully rise, which we strongly believe it will, as our data continues to show that we're building excellent products.
Got it. And then so I'm curious about something, and I'm not a science. I'm not a biologist. I'm not a doctor. You know more about this space than I'll ever by probably 100 times. So this PTR technology, is this particularly what's in phase 3, or is the PTR technology used in a drug that's in phase 3, if that makes sense?
So PTR is the platform. So basically, what we're doing here is we take different layers. I can actually show you here. So basically what we do is this little tablet here, which is the size of a pin, that's your third dose. We then put erosion barrier. We put our PTR platform around it. You can kind of see it here now. So now we've put it around it, but it looks like, again, it's fully encased. So
got it.
And this is on our website, by the way. There's a really cool video that we built. We then use the erosion barrier again to give you that final tablet with a layer of drug on top. So there's a really good website that we have, Cingulate.com. Look at the pipeline, check out the video. That'll give you a full description of what this looks like, much better than I just did. So PTR is the commercial manufacturing technology that goes around what we build. We use it in ADHD. We're using it in anxiety. We're investigating it potentially in insomnia and bipolar disorder and major depressive disorder, in xerostomia. We're looking at a lot of different therapeutic areas. Our goal is to bring a new product to market starting in 2025 every year. And we're looking at two things: multiple unmet medical needs. We don't just want to help with compliance. I want to solve problems. Compliance is a problem, but I also want to make the outcomes better for patients, which helps us on a payer side. And then number two, we want to make sure there's at least $1 billion of market potential there, because that's important to our shareholders. So those are two things we look at as we bring new assets into our pipeline. And we just did a very exciting commercial partnership for our first asset. Commercialization's sort of been that, rope around my neck, just sort of hanging around there saying, you have great drugs. It looks like you're going to get approved. I mean, every ADHD stimulant's been approved 100% over the last 50 years in the FDA. So
that's an interesting stat.
Yeah, 100% approval rating. So, I mean, we don't plan to mess that up. But we signed a commercialization agreement with Indegene. And they're not a household name for everyone here, but they are a household name to every single person in the pharmaceutical industry. They work with 29 of the top 30 global pharmaceutical companies. They've been around for over 20 years. They've built a technology from the ground up. They utilize AI. They utilize, all the elements of AI, but now we're putting it to good so that we make sure that we're making sure that physicians, providers, patients, payers understand exactly what we're doing, but we do it in the way they want to be taught, that they want to be educated about our products. And it's a really amazing technology that is, again, built on an AI foundation. And we create a journey for those providers. So depending upon how they want to be spoken to, when they want to be communicated to, is it a live person? Is it medical education? Is it CME? Is it some other element of an omni-channel strategy? We know their behaviors, how they work, and it's because at the end of the day, what we're doing with Indogene, it benefits the provider, it benefits the patient, and it'll end up benefiting the entire health system with all the troubles we have with abuse, diversion, and other issues associated with ADHD, anxiety, and the other areas.
Yeah, well, Shane, like you said, I mean, this is an absolutely huge market. We're running up on time, but I guess I've got a final question. So, and I see someone echoing it in the chat. What I was getting at here, have you guys discussed, essentially, licensing that tech out of the PTR for? Yeah.
Great question. Absolutely. So we actually have had some ongoing conversations with some U.S. based as well as ex-U.S. based companies that have seen the data. They understand how PTR works. There's nothing like this in the world. We've built this tablet, and we can manufacture this. We're commercially manufacturing it for our clinical studies on the same equipment. So absolutely looking to do two things. One, license our products that we're developing, specifically the ADHD and anxiety assets, outside the U.S. to other territories. But then also the technology framework, the PTR platform, is something that can be utilized by other companies. We'll manufacture it for them and then let them run their trials and commercialize their own products. Great question. I always love hearing that one.
Yeah, because I'd imagine, I don't even know who manufactures Adderall off the top of my head, but
Shire, now it's Takeda. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so I'd imagine someone like that, if they're having trouble with people, their Adderall's wearing off too fast, whatever, then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we can license this PTR that will help us deliver our drug in a more effective manner. But I understand you guys want to focus on
that. Yeah, we wouldn't sell that to them because we have the patents on that.
Okay, I see. So yeah, you're focusing on it with your novel, therapies first, and then maybe potentially down the road exploring that.
Imagine a cardiovascular medication that's for blood thinning or something like that. There's a $13 billion one out there. It has to be taken twice a day.
Okay, so it's like if you're a baseball team with a star pitcher you're looking to trade, you're willing to trade them, just not in the division, not to a team that you're going to be playing a bunch.
I like it. That's a good. See, Aaron, what way to put it. I like it.
All right, yeah. Well, I appreciate it. All right, Shane, it was a great conversation. I mean, like myself, and I'm sure most people in the audience, it's either you have ADD yourself, or your kid does, or someone that does, in my family, everything. So, it's like you said, a huge market, huge industry. We all know someone that is dealing with this. So, I always love these conversations.
Oh, appreciate it. It was nice talking to you.
Yeah, Shane. Hopefully, we'll talk soon, and thank you again for joining Benzinga.
Look forward to it. See you, Aaron.
Bye. All right, guys. Great conversation there with Shane from Cingulate. We're going to go ahead and keep it ticking. We've got Steve Glover hanging out backstage from ZyVersa. We're staying on topic today. We're doing all biotech. So without further ado, let's go ahead and give Mr. Glover our very special Zinger Nation welcome and bring him on for All Access. Mr. Glover, how you doing?
Doing good. I love that last conversation. Biotech for 45 minutes is a good topic.
Yeah, I mean, there we go. We're going to stay on biotech here for a second. So with that said, do you mind giving our audience a quick rundown of what ZyVersa is and what you guys are working on?
Sure. So we actually just became a public company into December. So we've been on the road trying to get the story out to everyone, and we appreciate your time today. But we're really focused in two really important areas. One is renal diseases. So if you think about going into the doctor, you get diagnosed with a kidney problem, and lack of treatments the last 20 years has been a real problem. So we think we've got a great opportunity to make a difference in that kidney space. And then in another space that we're in is really one of those biotech spaces that every so often comes along that's really unique. And it's an area called the inflammasome. It's really related to inflammation and related to a whole host of diseases. There's over 70 different diseases that have an inflammasome activated. And for us, it's a huge market opportunity, about $65 billion on just the inflammasome project.
Yeah. So do you mind giving me in layman's terms, what this inflammasome is?
Sure. So think about it this way. It's part of your innate immune system. So what happens is if you get a viral infection or you get a bacterial infection or you have a disease like Alzheimer's or multiple sclerosis, where your cells are dying, you're releasing these things called cytokines. And what's really important here is that first structure that gets formed when you get an infection or a virus is activation of this thing called an inflammasome. And if left unblocked, this inflammasome really releases cytokines like IL-1 beta and IL-18 into the human body. And that causes an acute phase of inflammation, and then it moves into a chronic phase of inflammation. So, diseases like Alzheimer's disease, multiple sclerosis, COVID, all these are driven by an innate immune insult.
Got it. And I mean, specifically with the Alzheimer's, I mean, from an investing standpoint, that's one where it seems like, and again, I'm speaking from the outside of the biotech space. I'm not an expert, but it seems like from an investing standpoint, that's one that we haven't really cracked the code on yet. And a lot of people in the investing space have want to be in early on that first company that's able to tackle something in the Alzheimer's. So you think through this inflammasome is potentially a way to do that?
Yeah, I think it is. And it's not only us, there's a lot of people that have been out there studying this. I mean, it's an interesting area if you look at the evolution of Alzheimer's, right? Initially, it was going after tau and plaque and approaches that way. There's been a couple of drugs approved around that. But the most recent thinking is that early stage Alzheimer's is driven by inflammation, where you've got these inflammasomes that are activated. And so this chronic low-grade inflammation is clearly a part of the disease. And it's not only just Alzheimer's disease, but I don't know if you saw the deal yesterday with Merck and Prometheus, where you've got a $10 billion deal that was done. This is in the inflammation space. So it's a really a huge area. It's a new target. And, picking the disease and indication is really the challenges that face us.
Yeah. So going forward, I mentioned at the top of the show, it's been a tough environment for a lot of biotech companies, especially more on the growth pre-revenue side. What have been the challenges over the past year or so?
Sure. So I joke about this with a lot of my friends. I've been doing this for 40 years, so it's not my first rodeo by any means. It's certainly not my first biotech trough, so to speak. So I think what you have to do in this environment, and I think a lot of people are struggling with this, is be very pragmatic of what you're doing, how you're expending your capital, and focusing on bringing the return to investors, and knowing that this day is going to turn. And I think you're going to begin to see that in the second half of this year as interest rates kind of settle down. So I think, in this environment, you got to be thoughtful. You got to be prudent. You got to look for collaborations. You got to look for ways to, extend your cash run rate and, prepare for the uptide.
Yeah. Was there ever were there like discussions behind the scenes of like, maybe we should hold off on this going public thing for a little bit longer?
Yeah, sure. You've been in all my board meetings over the last few years for sure. So there's no doubt you think about this, right? You always have to time and think about when's the appropriate path to bring your company into the public market. And I've done it a couple of times now. And I think the key here is really your science runs into a stage where you're better off in a public market environment to take advantage of the public markets and the potential collaborations. It's not for everyone. Clearly, being a public company has its ups and downs in this kind of market, but I think in general, being there for us is really one of the best things that we did. And the reason we did that is not only because of the deal I mentioned yesterday, but in the inflammasome space where we're at, there's been about $5 billion worth of M&A and collaborations that take place right at the end of preclinical. So you have to be prepared. You have to have your science validated and moving forward. And being in a public market in this environment, it's important to get your story out so people understand what a good investment opportunity something like ZyVersa is.
Got it. And so I want to talk about some of the therapies in your pipeline right now. So you've got VAR 200 for FSGS. I'm going to butcher this real quick, but that's focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. Am I close there?
You're pretty close. That's pretty good for acronyms.
All right, there we go. So what are these, diseases that this VAR 200 is looking to address, and how far along in the pipeline is it?
Sure. So if you take a look at our kidney program, which we refer to as VAR 200, there's really three potential indications. There's diabetic kidney disease, which is a major problem in the United States. Then there's two orphan indications, FSGS and Alport syndrome. And what's really interesting here is about 18% of the Medicare budget in the United States is spent on the treatment of kidney diseases. And that's about $50 billion a year. And what happens is if left untreated, these diseases progress and you end up in dialysis and you end up in kidney transplantation. And so it's a major problem here. There really has been, until recently when Travere got their approval, no other approvals for the last 20 years. So it's a high unmet medical need. We're doing something very different in our approach here. And we're just actually moving into phase 2. So again, to your question about, timing, being a public company, moving into phase 2 is a great opportunity for us to demonstrate, efficacy in humans in this horrible diseases.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like looking at your pipeline. So I see Christopher Marin in the chat's asking some great questions, and I don't know if Christopher, if you're in the biotech space or not, because he was asking some good questions on the previous one as well. But are you trying to get like a broad indication for inflammation in general with the IC 100? I know we're kind of bouncing around here now to the other product in the pipeline.
So what we do in our preclinical work is, as I mentioned earlier, that the challenge for a company is there's 70 different diseases that are implicated by this inflammation caused by inflammasomes. So what we've been able to do is try to narrow that field down and focus on 4 to 5. So for example, our lead indication that we've looked at has been in multiple sclerosis, a huge problem in the United States and worldwide. That's a chronic disease. And then we've got another indication we've looked at, acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is really an acute disease that really happens when you get intubated with an infection in the hospital. So those were our first areas of focus, and those two areas are about a $25 billion market. We've since expanded our view of what we're doing and been doing development in additional indications. So one of the areas is Parkinson's, for example. We have a collaboration with the Michael J. Fox Foundation, some great news out of that foundation over the last couple of days around a new biomarker and test to help in drug development. So Parkinson's is a huge area of which we're looking at. The other area that we're looking at as well, as I mentioned, is Alzheimer's, a big, obviously high unmet medical need. And then we're also contemplating a couple of other areas. So the key for us is to look at, a group of orphan and non-orphan indications, chronic and acute, and, target that $65 billion opportunity. So it's a big opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at this list in the pipeline of, like you mentioned, the acute respiratory distress syndrome, the multiple sclerosis, but you've also got congestive heart failure on here, or early Alzheimer's disease. If you add all of those markets up, that's like, that's going to get investors interested, thinking, oh my God, that's a huge total addressable market there.
It is, and I think what's also interesting is, you see this so often, like you did in immune oncology, you see it in gene therapy. A new target becomes attractive, and so you've seen companies that have acquired, collaborators early in this area. You've seen Merck, you've seen, Roche, and different companies of the top 10 that have acquired these companies very, very early. And we're one of two companies that are actually public now with the inflammasome opportunity. So it's an example of getting in early, watching the companies grow, and then have the opportunity to make a nice return.
Yep. So let's flip over to the business side of things, Steve. So I know on the last report it says you guys have about $6 million in the bank, and of course we've discussed kind of pre-revenue right now. What type of runway does this give you guys?
Sure. So, as a previous CEO mentioned, in biotech, you're always looking to raise capital to push your programs forward. So I think, we became a public company. We've got capital to get us a little bit further along. I think is without a doubt, we're going to be raising capital this year, obviously to push forward the programs. I mean, our goal here is with our major milestones over the next 18 months is to push into human results in our VAR 200 program and get the phase 1 started for our inflammasome program. And so we'll be raising additional capital appropriately and judiciously for our shareholders over the next 12 months for sure.
Yeah, and so that will look, I assume, a little bit differently this time around, that capital raise, now that you're public versus in the past?
Sure. I think, you know, that's one of the things you consider as you become a public company. My previous companies, we stayed private a little bit longer before going on the NASDAQ. But I think here, what you've got such a huge opportunity, you need to be accessing the capital markets on a public basis. So I think, you know, we've got some great relationships with the analyst community and the banking community, and I'm sure we'll be able to raise a capital here over the next couple of months for sure.
Yeah, there we go. We'll be on the lookout for that. So I'm going to ask you to give me a hot take here. So, of course, one thing that's been the hottest story in the stock market investing world this year so far has been the emergence of AI and Chat GPT and all this. Now, I know in the biotech space, there's been a lot of companies that have already been utilizing AI for the past few years. I mean, do you think this is an area like all others that AI is just going to come in and shake things up? Are you guys discussing using AI in somehow? Or basically my question is just like, what are your hot takes when it comes to AI in the biotech space?
Yeah, I think AI is going to play a major role in the biotech space. If you look at early stage drug screening and the ability to predetermine some pathways for your experimentation, I think AI is really going to be a big player within the space. And I think, you know, as it evolves, I don't think it's quite there yet, but it is evolving into a major toolkit. And I think you'll see it apply to, for example, areas like the inflammasome space or in the oncology space, where there's so much complexity that you need to be able to apply certain technologies like AI to focus your development efforts. So I think it's here to stay.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, like you said, there's still some, you know, kinks that need to be worked out. It's still growing, of course, but it'd be hard to imagine, you know, that it's something that's going to come revolutionize all of their industries. Than biotech, not at all. So I think, you know, looking at some of these companies that are using AI right now is interesting. What about just from a standpoint over the next year or so? Like, what are you most excited about at the company? Is it just getting some of these drugs further along through that pipeline?
Sure. So I think, you know, I'm excited for the patients and the opportunity for patients to get on our VAR 200 program in human trials. I mean, if you've never had a family member that's in the dialysis center or went through a kidney transplant, it's a horrible situation. And today, I think there's just really a lack of treatments here. So I think for me, it's that ability to make a difference in the patients that have renal disease that really on the near term is really exciting to us. And then I think, you know, from the other side, the inflammasome space, I love this kind of area where it's really a true biotech target. It's going to evolve the science and the twists and turns that you're going to take is going to be very similar to what we went through with immunology in the oncology space. So I think the ability for companies who are studying here to begin to report out data and to begin to see some of the promise here, like we're going to do in our next 12 months, I think is just a great thing for the industry. And I think that's what really turns the industry is when innovation, you know, takes that next step.
Yeah, and you know, innovation across the board is what we're looking for right now. What about just as a biotech, you know, speaking for the sector as a whole? I mentioned on the top of the show, you know, the XBI, you know, one of the most beaten down sectors in terms of the market. Do you expect that to turn around pretty quickly here?
I do think as a macro environment begins to settle down a little bit, and you're starting to see, I always say the last throes of that. You know, if you take a look at, you know, the changes that the Fed's doing, I do think that you're going to see a sector rotation. I watched it during the pandemic, and you saw a lot of people coming in to the sector, right? And as natural as the economy improved, people rotate out of sectors, right? They move back into gaming and the technology sectors and the travel and leisure. I think you're going to see a return because there's some great things going on. So I mentioned the Merck Prometheus deal, a $10 billion deal on a phase 2 asset in inflammation is just just a signal to what the large strategic companies are thinking about, because there's plenty of great technologies out there to invest in.
Yeah, well, Steve, I know we've gone a few minutes over here. Is there anything you want to get to that we haven't touched on already?
No, I think, I really appreciate the opportunity here to sit and chat with you guys, get our story out. And I just hope that people will invest in these technologies in the industry, because, in the end, 10 years from now, this is the medicines that we'll be treating our children with.
There you go. Well, Steve Glover from ZyVersa, thank you again for joining us today. Look forward to chatting again in the future as you guys have some more developments through the pipeline and any news.
My pleasure, and have a great day.
You do the same. All right, y'all. That was Mr. Steve Glover from ZyVersa. We went through a lot of biotech today on that All Access. Love that. Love to get into a space, especially that is so prime with opportunity right now for investors of all sorts, whether you're accredited institutional investor, whether you're a retail investor like I am. Like, I'm adding some of these names to my portfolio right now. Like I mentioned, like Steve mentioned, when COVID hit in 2020 and the market started taking off, biotech was a super hot sector, right? People wanted to buy not only your, Modernas and your Pfizers, et cetera, but a lot of smaller biotech companies too. And Novio was one that people were buying a lot for their drug. And if you look at just the chart of the XBI, let me go ahead and get it pulled up on my Benzinga Pro. You can see how that kind of took off. And like Steve mentioned, a lot of people, took their profits from that space and went into other sectors. And as a result, since that peak in 2020 or early 2021, the biotech sector, and again, I'm just using XBI as my kind of barometer here. That's the ETF from iShares, I believe. We fact check that just because there's so many now ETF companies out there that it's hard to keep track of what everything is. Sorry, no, that is a spider. SPDR. Christopher, appreciate it. Are you in the medical space? You seemed pretty knowledgeable with some of those questions you were throwing out there. If you've ever got anything you want us to talk about in the biotech space, let me know. Why am I looking at the 2-minute chart here? Let's see. Let's go to a daily chart here on the XBI. So you'll see what I'm talking about here. So here's COVID hits, boom, March 2020 low. XBI got down to about $60, then boom, ripped all the way up early 2021, February 2021. You topped out at about 175, and it's just been absolutely crushed. I mean, XBI, the biotech industry sector, has been one of the worst performing, if not the worst performing, over the past 2 years or so. I mean, we are now 2 full plus years from this peak, right? About 26 months or so, from this peak in February 2021. And you're finally just now starting to see, okay, maybe some stabilization, maybe coming back a little bit, hit a low of about $60. And so that's what I'm saying, that right now as retail investors, we can really start looking within this space. And whether it's, looking at a pre-revenue company like, Cingulate or like ZyVersa and saying, okay, this could be a good bet for the long term, or looking at a name that's maybe more established that has just been beaten up. Either way, I think there are good opportunities in this space. I think with biotech, though, in general, there's just so much going on and so many companies that are trying to do X, Y, and Z. And some obviously don't make it through the FDA process. It can feel like you're kind of going to the casino, especially if you don't have a background in this space and you can't, if you think a lot of the due diligence is pretty hard to do without like a biology degree or something. But I think it's possible. I think you can just look at, what markets these companies are in, how far in the pipeline are there. Look at their experience. Look at the managerial team. Look at the companies they've been at before. Do they have a track record of getting drugs through the pipeline? Have they had success in the past, turning a company around financially, all of these things? And, it's one of those things that I really do think that it's especially if you're on the younger side as a retail investor and you're investing for the long term, it's worth it to take some speculative bets some of these companies that you can really, you know, get a 10x, 15, 20x return over time, right? If I buy Apple right now, I'm 25 years old. Chances are I'm not getting, you know, an 1,000% gainer from Apple over the next 5-10 years. But if you find a small biotech company that hasn't gotten a drug through the pipeline yet, and then they do, and it's approved, then maybe you do. So I think it's worth reserving a certain percentage of your portfolio for these more speculative, quote unquote, riskier plays. So again, not investment advice. I'm not telling you to go out and go buy either of the two stocks we had on today. If they tickled your fancy, if they got you interested, then sure, go check it out. Do some of your research. And then if you want to buy some Cingulate, if you want to buy some ZyVersa, go ahead. Tickers are up on the top of the screen. Other biotech, let's check in on. Honestly, I haven't looked at like some of the big COVID names. How's Moderna doing? Moderna is one that's really interesting from a stock perspective because I do think by virtually any metric out there, it's still super expensive, and the company's probably just going to be making less and less revenue every quarter as, you know, people are getting less and less COVID vaccines. But Moderna really, to me, is one of those companies that has the potential to do some really big things in the future. I mean, if you look at their mRNA technology, it's not just COVID, right? They're using it for AIDS. They're using it for all of these things. Could be used for different cancers down the road. So Moderna is one that I think is actually pretty interesting, even though by most, like I said, metrics would probably be considered still very expensive right now. You got Pfizer, you got Howard Lilly. So all these stocks that were doing, a lot of people are buying these stocks that were doing the different weight loss drugs. So you have Eli Lilly, you have Novo Nordisk. Which one is that? What's the NVO? Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, these things are at like all-time highs. We should have been buying. I mean, it seems obvious in hindsight, right? All right, guys, well, let's move off biotech for a minute here. We're going to do about 10, 12 minutes more. So let's go over. I'm going to pull up our Benzinga Twitter account real quick here because we get this great graphic going. Shout out to Nate and Alyssa and the team for getting this done. But excuse me, for earnings this week, we had Johnson & Johnson, Bank of America, Lockheed Martin before the open today. After the close today, we're going to get Netflix, probably your first big tech company reporting this cycle, United Airlines. Of course, we had some other headlines in the a couple other airlines in the space. Wednesday before the open, you've got Abbott, another biotech name. You've got Morgan Stanley. You've got U.S. Bancorp, Travelers, NASDAQ. There you go. And then after the close, Tesla. Tesla will be one, of course, that we're, always a favorite among the retail investor Tesla earnings. We will be sure to be streaming that and doing some coverage of that here. You also have Sands. You've got Discover. Thursday before the open, TSMC, of course, that's your Taiwan semi-manufacturing. So, I don't know. Let's talk about, I mean, I guess we could talk about semis as a whole right now. I saw earlier today, I think NVIDIA hit its 52-week high. So that's the thing with when the market does start to heat back up and you get things like NVIDIA up 100% over a month or 200% over a couple of months, it's really easy, I think, for investors to be like, okay, well, I've missed a boat. It's gone up too fast, too quickly right now. It's probably going to come back down or whatever. But realistically, I mean, if you think about something like NVIDIA, there's a reason people are still buying it up here. There's a reason that there are more buyers than sellers, even though it's back at 270. So, I think with that said, it's not black and white, right? It's not as simple as saying, okay, it's gone up too fast, too much. It's got to come back down. It's not as simple as saying, oh, it's going up, so it's got to keep going up. Oops, I must have done something wrong to my Benzinga Pro. I think I'm just having some internet Wi-Fi connection issues. Let's go to the chart. Holy cow. That's a price target increase if I've ever seen one. HSBC upgraded the stock from reduce to buy and increased its price target from 175 to 355. Holy cow. And I mean, again, NVIDIA's a stock that I think a lot of people would look at the financials of right now and still think that it's very overpriced by traditional metrics. But I think with everything going on with AI right now, I mean, I do really think, I don't know where I really stand. It seems like the AI thing is getting, some people are out there, on Twitter or whatever, saying basically 100% this thing is going to take X amount of jobs in the next 5-10 years. I don't think it's really ready yet to be doing all that, to be having that conversation. I think it's AI has showcased so far that it is quite impressive. And I think what you have to take into account is that we're still in the very first inning of it. So as that AI technology continues to progress, then, it might get a little bit like, holy cow, okay. But I think few times throughout the modern history investing world, like I think you'd have to go back to the internet in like the early 2000s to be like, to find something that truly has the capability of reshaping the economy in every single industry. And that's what I think makes AI so interesting, is because it's not just, okay, in the tech industry. It's not just, okay, in the, it's whatever you want to look at. Transportation, boom, they'll be using AI. Biotech, boom, they'll be using AI. Virtually everything. So NVIDIA is going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of this. I mean, right? Like, so... All right, guys. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my computer right now. Let's try this again.
Might want to hit a restart on that bad boy.
On the whole computer?
Or Chrome, at least.
Let me try. I'm trying to just go back into it real quick. See if. All right. Well, I'm doing this. I'm gonna do an interactive. I want the chat to let me know. 1 in the chat if you'd be bullish, if you'd be buying Netflix into earnings today. 2 if you'd be bearish, if you'd be selling. Netflix has been performing really well over the past few months, but could potentially run into some problems today if it's not a great report, just because I think people are... All right, y'all. I'll be honest. I have no clue what's going on right now. Our guest that was supposed to come on canceled, so I think we're just gonna wrap up a little bit early today. Anyway, we've been going for about an hour, including the All-Access. So, all right, Toronto the Great is bearish. Netflix into earnings. Anyone bullish? There we go. Carlos Herrera is 1. Crow streams Netflix for free 2. Yeah, so I do think, by the way, I don't know if anyone's going to listen into that Netflix call this afternoon. Password sharing will be a big...
delayed a bunch, but she made it out at least, so...
Mike, or Rohan, your mic is still on, by the way.
Well, so she didn't have to, like, spend the night anywhere.
Rohan?
Yeah.
Your mic is still on.
Live.
Yeah. So, I forget what I was saying now. Oh, password sharing with Netflix will be a thing that is discussed. Well, thank you guys for everyone who tuned in to both live trading and Benzinga's All-Access. Always a pleasure to join you. I'll be back with y'all tomorrow. Till then, stay green. Hope everyone makes some money if you're trading the earnings today, and we'll talk about some more potential trades tomorrow.